Hey guys, welcome back to Pocket Saga. Today we are going to see, what if Ash became World Monarch and had Harem? This is part 3 and do check out the author of this story named Timeless Wonders by Hold On Lupin. And make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe for more. Let's get in the video. I don't know what's better, said an 18 years old Nurse Joy. The fact I finally graduated from health school, or the fact that is finally over. Yeah, it's so great seeing people smiling again. A 13 years old Nurse Joy replied. The 4 girls being accompanied by 4 Drifloon. But I still think you only graduated because of the online classes. Hey, the eldest complained, and the 2 shared a laugh, which was suddenly interrupted by the youngest's coughing. You okay? Yes, just cough I. The youngest stuttered to then look at her sister and take some steps back. Paige, where are you going? The eldest asked. Marnie, you heard that, didn't you? Paige asked, coughing again. It's just a cough, Marnie firmly replied. We've been helping Mom with her patients all this time. The last case was a month ago. Marnie continued. It's done. Marnie Francaise Lynette Joy, you get away from me. Paige continued. I won't let you get close, cough, unless you put on a mask. I won't put you in danger. Paige, sigh, fine, just let me. Marnie quickly looked inside her purse and pulled out a folded face mask to then put it over her mouth and nose. There, now calm down, I'm sure it's nothing, but let's go back to the center with Mom so she can make you a test. So, what is it, Mom? I'm sorry girls, but Paige tested positive. Back in the present. So, what exactly are these Terra keys? Ash asked, pulling Molly out of her memories. Well, to be completely honest, we're not too sure ourselves. All we know about them, we heard it from an old legend. Orla replied. Long before time had a name, there was a legendary Pokemon named Terrapagos. One of Arceus' first creations. Arceus sculpted him with clay made out of fragments of his plates. Terrapagos was typeless, but at the same time he had the power of every type. At some point, Terrapagos engaged in a battle against 4 devils that rose from the edges of the universe to conquer it. 4 beings made of shadows, darkness and pure evil. The battle lasted days, and just when he was about to lose, Terrapagos focused all his energy and expelled it in a huge burst that defeated the 4 spirits and sealed them away in the depths of our planet. That burst, however, was too much for Terrapagos himself, and he lost all of his life force after it. His carcass fell on the surface of the ocean, and with time it became the land of Paldea, and the whole region formed on top of it. Its shell flooding the region with the power of Terrastalize. But one thing that not many people know, is that when Terrapagos died, fragments of his shell fell over the surface as well and took the shape of golden keys, 18 of them. Each one of them for each type. The 18 Terra keys contain the power of the Pokemon types in its purest state. That power is almost limitless, and they can alter the Terrastalize of any Pokemon at will. The keys landed all in the same spot, and with time they were found by the first humans that lived in Paldea, but they were deemed too dangerous. Those people knew it would be catastrophic if the keys fell on the wrong hands, so the 18 keys were given to 18 people so they would be separated and scattered across all of Paldea. As thousands of years have gone by since that, lots of people have tried to find the keys, but most of them have failed. Still, the most interesting part is what comes next, the actual reason why most people, including ourselves, are looking for the Terra keys. Aside from the great power they have on their own, it is said that if you bring the 18 keys together, you'll find the greatest treasure of Paldea. What's that treasure, you ask? Nobody knows. Some say it's infinite richness, others say it's a limitless wish, but one thing is for sure. You need all the keys to have access to it, and as if that wasn't enough, you need more. One thing. A central pieces you have to use alongside the keys. A fragment of Terrapagos' heart, but unlike the keys, no one has ever seen it. Either way, the Rising Volt Tacklers are currently in possession of 4 keys. The first one, Water, was found by our previous captain. Normal was found by Ludlow. Rock was found by Murdoch, and Flying was found by Freed. We seem to have a really good streak. No one has ever gotten so many keys together since they were separated. But that was when we met the explorers. We don't much about them either. They're a mysterious organization and their motives are unknown to us. But they're looking for the keys as well. We've met 3 of their members so far. Amethiota Jalakia, Zir Baris and Konia Insar, the woman you saw on that Skarmory. So Amethio is part of that group. Ash said. You've met him? Orla asked. Only briefly, but I knew he was up to something. Ash said. Well, continuing, as far as we know, the explorers have obtained 5 Terra keys. Ghost, Bug, Psychic, Dark and Ground, Orla said. Which means the keys that are still missing are Fire, Electric, Fighting, Dragon, Poison, Ice, Fairy, Grass and Steel. Ash replied. And the central piece. Orla said. So let's see which one of those is next. A Terra Den, Molly said as the group arrived at the entrance of a cave. Let's do it, Orla said, leading the way, being followed Ash and Molly. Meanwhile with Liko. Alright, Liko, let's say things as they are. Anne took a deep breath while she looked at her friend. You were about to kiss your dad. I was about to kiss my adoptive father. Liko corrected, still with a massive blush. There's a difference, that's not the same thing. We're still talking about the person who raised you since you were born. Roy shouted. I know, okay. I know it's weird, but, well, I guess I always thought he was well looking. Liko replied. And meeting him when he's only 2 years older than me woke up some things that I'm not too proud of. Liko. Let's forget about the morally wrong part and focus on the most important here. Roy said. You're from the future. Just try to visualize the kind of timeline mess you could create. You're supposed to be born in a few months, you cannot just stay here and become his girlfriend. I know, I mean, it's not like I want to do that. Liko said, blushing again. I know I have to return. But this pendant sent me at this exact time for a reason and I wanna know why. Maybe it was just so you could save Mela after all. Roy said. But then why did that Pokemon tell me to not intervene? Liko asked. And what's with that advanced daddy fetish you have? Anne asked. Didn't know you were that pervert. I told you I'm not too proud of this situation. Liko insisted. Hey, wait, you still haven't told me what kind of aunt I am. Anne said. Well, you've always been my favorite aunt, to be honest. Liko said. Okay, enough. Roy stopped them. We need to find the way to send you back to the future right now. I told you, Roy, there's no pressure. Liko said. I think you mean there wasn't, because now there surely is. Roy shouted. Liko, you fell in love with your dad. Adoptive father. She corrected again. And did you see what happened during that kiss attempt? Roy continued. He wasn't resisting at all. What if he falls for you too? What if he makes you want to stay? Why am I the only one out of us who's actually considering the consequences of messing with time? Roy, is not that I'm not considering them. Liko said. But I'm just trying to listen to my heart, like Ash always does. Well, here's my little suggestion. Listen to your brain instead. Roy said to then walk out of the stand. Might be more useful. Hey, don't listen to him. Anne told Liko. Let's change topic, so. I haven't asked for details because I didn't want to spoil myself, but, how's my life with Ash in the future? Like I told Ash, he's the happiest man alive and you're all the happiest women on earth. The Ketchum household is always filled with laughter and love. It always surprises how he manages to split his time between you all and his responsibilities as world champion. And I love to take care of my younger siblings. He has 2 children with you, their names are. No, hold on there, don't tell me. Anne shouted with a wide smile while blushing madly. I'd still like to pick those myself. Hey, yeah, sure. Liko smiled at her reaction while Anne got lost in her fantasies with Ash. Hey, Anne, are you sure you don't want to be with Ash just because I told you'd end up together in the future? Well, I'd be lying if I said that didn't play a part on it. Anne answered. But the more you tell me about him and the more I get to know him, the more charmed I feel by him. Though I never imagined myself sharing a man before. Wait, did Ash and I ever told you how we met? Of course you did. Liko replied. I know how he met each of you, you see. You two were supposed to meet in the Uva Academy, where Ash would go to stop a wild Amoonguss that was attacking it. He would save you last minute and you would fall for him, eventually joining him in his adventure through Paldea, and then you had your first kiss in. Cut. Anne shouted. Don't tell me things as important as that. Although, to be fair, things so far have been pretty different from what you just told me. Quote. Guess you can thank me for that. Liko said. Well, that's not a bad thing at all actually. Anne said. It means that not even you are fully sure of what'll happen next. That our future isn't fully written yet. Don't you think it's exciting not knowing what you're gonna do tomorrow? Yeah, I guess it is. Liko smiled. Meanwhile with the girls and Delia. As much as I want my Ash to finally have that special someone, this isn't the way. I saw those dates you had with him with some help of Mimi's barriers and I won't let you use my son like that. So I'll be as clear as I can with you five. I want you all to stop traveling with Ash, get away from him and never approach him again. What? Nemona stuttered. Miss Ketchum, you can just ask us something like that. Yeah, we all really like to travel with Ash and spend time with him. Iono added. And with due respect, what reason would we give to Ash for abandon him out of a sudden like you're suggesting? Penny asked. Yeah, like, I'm kind of legally obliged to stay with him for the next month if I don't want to go to jail. Mela said. Why did you say that word? Dendra asked to Delia. What word? Delia asked. I won't let you use my son like that. Dendra repeated what Delia told them. Use. Why did you say that word? Why do you think we're using Ash? And are you not? Delia asked. Just look at the mess you all are. Mela Kotan, an evil pyromaniac who had to rely on my son's good heart so she wouldn't rightfully go to jail to pay for her crimes. Nemona Xantho, a gur. Elle who never had a friend and is only with my son because of her stupid battle obsession. Dendra Quijada, a lonely failure of an adult who had to find comfort in luring a boy 7 years younger than her. And you, Dionysia Elton Nigma. You're by far the worst of them, just how dare you? How could you drag my son into your videos for some more insignificant views? We both know you're only using him to increase your popularity, or tell me. Is any of the things I said wrong? She asked and the four girls stood silent while looking down, with Iono being in the verge of tears. My son deserves something better than this. Miss Ketchum. With due respect, you're being too harsh. Penny stepped in. You're lacking way too much context. I can assure you, we all deeply care for Ash. He changed all of our lives for the better. Penny. Delia looked at her to then sigh. You did hear I had nothing to complain about you, right? Why you don't? Penny stuttered. Penny, you're the only one I can accept into this. Delia said. Seeing you reject the sharing idea was all I needed, so I'll tell you this once. If you say yes right now, I'll make sure you become Ash's one and only girlfriend. What do you say? I could be Ash's only girlfriend. Penny asked. Back with Ash. So, Molly de Familia. Ash talked to the girl while they both walked behind Orla, who was leading the way with her Rotom tablet in hand. Following coordinates while they made their way on a tunnel of the den. Yeah, what's the matter? She asked without looking at Ash. Nothing, it's just, that's a curious name. Ash said and Molly began looking around. Sounds kind of French, are you from Kalos? Yeah, I'm from Kalos. Molly replied. From what part of Kalos? Ash continued. You know, the city with the big pointy thing. Molly said. And what's that city's name? Ash continued. Well, it's called. This way, guys. Orla interrupted them and guided them inside another tunnel, Mackin. It to a part of the cave where all the roof, walls and floor were covered by reflecting crystals. We're getting close to the key, but keep you guards up. Konia must be already there. So you're from Lumios? Ash continued. Yeah, exactly. Molly replied looking at her reflections in the walls while she remembered what happened that morning in the bathroom. It wasn't my fault, she whispered. Stop right there. A voice echoed in the cave and 5 lightnings aimed at the group. Chansey, protect. Molly called out the Pokemon who summoned a barrier to protect them from the attack. So we finally meet, explorers. The voice echoed again and a Luxray jumped above the trio to then land in front of them as a young woman jumped from the lion's back. You're under arrest, said an off. Icer Jenny with a white version of their usual outfit. The outfit had the design a big blue star in her left side and she was also wearing a white hat with a IV sign in the front. Wait, Marble. Ash asked. Hey, who told you my Ash? She shouted. No. Molly trailed off and closed his eyes to then shook her head. No, this isn't happening. Valley Windworks, Sinnoh, a year and a half ago. So Paige got ill, huh? A teenage officer Jenny asked wearing jean shorts and a teal shirt with a black star design. I thought the disease was controlled. We thought so too, but that's the thing with medicine. You can never be 100% sure. Marnie Joy answered, wearing a pink dress and holding hands with the officer while they walked together. So, I'm really sorry, but this will be our last date in a while. I'll start taking full-time care of Paige until she's healed. Listen, I'm glad you want to take responsibility, but don't you think you should take her to an hospital and let professionals handle it? Of course not, Marnie exclaimed. I'm a professional too, and she's my sister, Marble. Yeah, but that's part of what worries me. Marble said. You'll see her as your sister first and as your patient second. Which could end up making the process more difficult for you both. No, it won't. I'll just give her extra care. Marnie replied. It still worries me a bit. Marble insisted. Hey, why don't we take her with Suicune? Don't you think he could heal her? I'm not sure if I want a shortcut. It's not a shortcut, it's just thinking smart. Marble said. Don't you want Paige to heal soon? I want Paige to heal. Period. Marnie replied. And she's my first official patient after graduating from health school. I want to make things the right way. Fine, do what you think it's best. Marble said with a sigh. But don't fear asking for help. Of course. Marnie nodded to then receive a quick lip kiss from Marble. Great. Marble winked. Now, enough worries. I know you have it all under control, but I'll still visit you too. So, if this is really gonna be our last date in a while, let's enjoy it. Hey, sure thing. Marnie smiled at her. Back in the festival. The food festival has been a total success. Clavel said, talking to his Rotom phone. We'll begin the closing ceremony in a few hours. How has been the reconstruction work of the academy, Rayfort? All good so far. She answered. Team Star has been surprisingly cooperative. That's nice to hear, Clavel said. And thanks again for staying watching everything while I came to the festival. Don't mind it. It's not like I wanted to go that boring festival anyway. Rayfort said. Yes, I supposed so. Clavel said. Now, if you excuse me, I have to make another call. Yeah, sure. Rayfort cut the call herself and Clavel opened his contacts to then take a deep breath and make another call. Good to see you, Harrington. Clavel said. Wish I could say the same. Harrington answered. I thought I was leaving the Naranja Academy in good hands, but you seriously surpassed my disaster with the Team Star incident. Straightforwards as always, I see. Clavel said. And I imagine you know most of my teachers will be working at your academy while the reconstructions takes place. Of course I know, Harrington said. And they're welcome to stay further if they want to. The UVA Academy is always expanding and it always needs more staff. Well, I've also been thinking about expanding the Naranja Academy. Clavel said. But tell me, Harrington, have you heard the news regarding the incident? You mean those claims of Team Star saying they were the victims? Harrington asked. Don't tell me you actually believe that. I do, in fact, believe of all of it. Clavel said. And what worries me the most is what happened with your nephew. You did mention he was attacked by Team Star during the incident, but, you know what he did to Mela, right? Clavel, that girl didn't have any proof. Harrington coldly replied. Guess that's the answer I needed. Clavel said. Is that all you wanted? An answer. Harrington asked. I want the truth. Clavel affirmed. You can't handle the truth. Harrington suddenly shouted to then regain his composure and sigh. Why are there no reports or informs about it? Clavel asked. How could you do that? How could you hide what happened to Mela and all the horrible things those bullies did to Team Star? My dear Clive, you've always been too innocent, you still don't seem to understand. I was the original director of the Naranja Academy. The once, most prestigious academy in all of Paldea. And every action I took, no matter how disrespectful or how cruel, was for the greater good of my school. And that surely worked in the end. Didn't it? Clavel asked. Touché. Harrington smiled. Which is why I decided to simply raise it all and start again. And I've been doing great so far, trust me, the errors that happened in the Naranja Academy won't be repeated here. Now, if you excuse me, I'm very busy attending actual director business instead of playing around in the festival, so I'll have to leave you. Hey, Harrington, a little question before you do that. Clavel said. Do you know anything about that false letter that Team Star received regarding the bullies? I don't. He answered. But I'll give you one little tip. Clive. And that is? Clavel asked. Don't trust Team Star, Harrington said before cutting the call. Valley Windworks, a year and 1 month ago. And A. Shish Ketchum ascends to rank 64 after successfully defeating gym leader Volkner. An announcer exclaimed, "All right, I knew he'd win." Paige cheered on in the bed of her room, while watching the Coronation Series battle on TV. With Marble and Marnie both sitting by her sides wearing face masks. "I was just about to say the same thing," Marble exclaimed. "What do you mean? You betted on Volkner." Marnie replied. "What? No, I didn't. You guys just misheard me." Marble replied. "Still, it really surprises me how strong he's gotten in such a short period of time." "Marnie, we have to go and cheer for Ash in person in his next battle." Paige shouted. "Well, your state is still a bit delicate, but you've been getting better, so let's do this. If Ash makes it to the Masters 8, I promise we'll go and see the tournament in person." "Great," Paige cheered. "Maybe we'll even get to meet with Ash again. I honestly wonder if he still remember us." Marble said. "Like, we all barely knew for a day. I'm sure he remember us. We had quite a crazy adventure together." Paige said. And Marnie Seward took a liking of him. "You what?" Marble shouted in a jealous tone. It was just a little crush, nothing you should worry about." Marnie said. "So you swing both ways, huh?" Marble asked. "I mean, if we were to have a 3. Marble. Marnie shouted, blushing and covering Paige's ears. "Oh, right, well, point is, Ash is cool." Marble said. "Who knows how things could have ended if we had gotten to know him better." "Yeah, I'm honestly excited to see him again." Marnie said. "So, about that bet." Marble trailed off. Paige demanded. "Back with Ash. Orla, Molly. This is Marble." Ash introduced the girls. "She's an Officer Jenny that I met during my travels in Sinnoh. Lieutenant Marble Tetsu Jenny at your service." She saluted the girls. "Nice to meet you," Orla said. "Name's Orla Milfi and this Molly de Familia." "This isn't happening," Molly whispered, taking some steps back again. "This isn't happening. This isn't happening. Nice to meet you too," Marble replied. "Hey, are you a Nurse Joy?" "Don't you dare say that," Molly shouted. "I'm not a. You. Arg." Molly simply shouted and turned her back on them. "Oh well, sorry about thinking you guys were the explorers," Marble continued. "Hadn't Ash been here I probably would have attacked without thinking." "So you're after the explorers?" Orla asked. "I am. I was tasked with apprehending them and I've been following them these last weeks, but I haven't had any luck." Marble explained. "I came here because I received an anonymous emergency message saying that they were on their way here." "Well, Konya Insar is definitely here," Orla said. "Yeah, we saw her flying on the way here," Ash said. "She's looking for a Terra key that's inside this cave." "A Terra key?" Marble asked. "I thought that was just an old Paldene legend." "They're 100% real, I can assure it," Orla said. "And if we don't move fast, Konya will get her hands on one of them." "Very well then, I shall assist you," Marble said. "I'll help you get that key and you'll help me catch Konya, you in?" "Catch me? I'd like to see you try." Konya's voice echoed in the cave and the quartet put their guards up, but she was nowhere to be seen. "Well, what do we have here?" "Ketchum, my 2 favorite tacklers and that pesky officer, everybody who needs a beating. Conveniently together on one place." "Konya Insar," Marble shouted. "By the power vested in me by the International Police, I'm stopping you by force." "Yeah, sure," Konya replied, and pink suddenly rings came from the entrance of the tunnel and began bouncing in the crystals, surrounding Ash's group and giving them all a strong headache. That's Konya's Golduck using Psybeam," Orla shouted. "Snarl," Marble shouted, and her Luxray roared. Black rings form his mouth, dissipating the psychic energy. "I'm coming for ya." Marble jumped on top of Luxray, who quickly started running in the direction that the Psybeam came from. "Right behind you," Ash said, releasing Koraidon again while Molly stood still staring at her reflections in the walls, which showed her that young Nurse Joy again. "Hey, Mole, we got to move," Orla called her, and Molly simply clenched her fists while she looked down to then look up at Ash with her eyes filled with tears. "Molly," Ash whispered at her, and Molly suddenly ran away in the opposite direction, being followed by her Chansey and Driftblim. "Molly," Orla shouted. "You go with her, I'll help Marble." "No, Ash, wait," Orla exclaimed, stopping him. "Listen, Molly knows you from somewhere. I don't know what it is, but the way she reacted when she first saw you wasn't normal. Molly's been really struggling with that PTSD and I felt like you're the right person she needs to open up. Please, I'm begging you, you have to help her. Okay. Ash nodded. I'll try to help. Great, I'll go help Marble then. Orla said to then jump on top of her Metagross and fly away following Marble while Ash and Corydon went in the direction that Molly left. They eventually found her in a small chamber and the image terrified Ash at first sight. The place was surrounded in crystals just like the rest of the cave, but all of the crystals were shattered, with blood splattered over them. Molly was kneeling in the center of the chamber, with her hands covered in bleeding cuts while she was also holding a big broken crystal in her right hand. Molly, Ash whispered. Hey, what can I say? She asked with a heavy pant. I'm tired of seeing my face. Molly, you're bleeding too much, please, let me help you. Ash talked to her while slowly approaching her. Trust me, I'm a nurse, I know exactly how much blood I can lose. But that's not the important thing. She replied with a weak smile to then tighten her grip of the crystal in her right hand, making her bleed even more. Back off, Ash, this is going to happen and I don't want you to see it. Molly replied, aiming the crystal at her throat, making Ash freeze in his place. Molly, put that thing down. Ash said slowly while recalling Corydon to avoid any sudden movements. Why you? Molly asked. Why Marble and you? This was supposed to be a normal day, I just had to go to that stupid festival and forget everything. Why did you have to come just today? Molly, I need you to get that crystal away from you. Ash said. I don't know what happened but this isn't going to solve anything. Sigh, cut it off, I know that routine. Molly content. UED without moving the crystal away from her throat. Build an empathy, rapport, influence. Mom taught it to me. I need to know why you want to kill yourself. Ash replied as he began taking small steps towards Molly. The only reason why I haven't done it yet is because I don't want you to feel guilty. Molly softly chuckled. Cause I've been feeling really bad, okay. I was barely keeping Toget. Her and seeing you and Marble again was really the breaking point, but I don't want you to think this will be your fault. I know what it's like to be responsible for the death of someone. Molly, I think I can help you if you just talk to me. I'm done talking, alright. She shouted while her tears flooded her eyes again. Ash, I'm not worthy of your time. That's not true, Molly. Ash continued, now being nearly 4 steps away from her. Just look at me, Ash. She said staring at the blood in her hands. Every day, everything just feels so, just heavy. I can't even count the nights that I just hope and I pray that the lights up here would just go out, just so that the pain would just go away. I'm tired, Ash. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hoping and I'm sick of waiting for this. I just want to see her again. See who? Ash whispered while he picked up puzzle's pieces in his head. Molly, listen, think of how much this would hurt your friends. They'll be fine without me. Molly replied. Just like everyone in Windworks has been. Marnie. Ash whispered and Molly abruptly stopped crying as she felt her breath was running out, but she still didn't move the crystal away from her throat. Marnie Frances Lynette Joy. Hey, that took you long enough. She replied. Sorry, but, you look really different from the last time we met. Ash said. Still, with all the things you said. Paige is dead. Molly replied, tightening even more her grip on the crystal. And I killed her. Valley Windworks, Sinnoh, a year and a day ago. Marnie. A nurse Joy Pen at the door of a room to find her 2 daughters. The youngest resting on bed while wearing an oxygen mask and the eldest sitting by her side wearing a face mask and a medical coat while looking at some papers. Marnie. The nurse called again but the eldest sister still didn't respond. Marnie Frances Lynette Joy. She shouted and her eldest daughter finally looked at her, her eye bags being more than noticeable. Sorry, Mom. Marnie replied. I was just focusing on Paige's lastest status, you know. It seemed like she was recovering these last weeks, but she has only worsened these last days. I'm honestly starting to worry. She explained while her mother placed a hand on Paige's forehead as the girl was having difficulty to breathe. She then looked at Marnie again, who was now RG-inizing some pills while still looking at the reports. Marnie, when was the last time you slept? Joy asked. I don't need sleep, I need to help my sister. Marnie replied. You won't be of any help if you keep up like that. Joy said. You could end up getting dizzy and mix up the treatment. Mix up the treatment. Mom, I'm a Joy, you offend me. Marnie replied. Marnie Francis Lynette Joy, I'll give you 10 minutes and I better see you sleeping after that or you'll be in trouble, young lady. She ordered to then sigh. Listen, I'm very proud of all you've done for Paige, but don't forget to take care of yourself too. I don't want to lose either of my daughters. You won't lose any of us. I'll make sure of it. Marnie firmly answered while her mother brushed Paige's hair to then leave the room. Leaving the two sisters alone again. Guess I'm going to sleep. Marnie said with a sigh. Marnie. Paige called her with a frail voice, which was weakened even more by the oxygen mask, but Marnie heard her more than clearly. Why yes. What happened? You want me to bring you anything? She asked. It hurts. Paige replied and Marnie felt her heart stop flat. I know. Marnie replied with a broken voice. I'm sorry. You know I'm doing everything I can, just keep resting and I'll take care of the everything, okay? Okay. Paige replied with a weak smile. I trust you, sis. Back with the girls. Penny, please. You're the best out of these girls. Delia continued. You'd be the perfect girlfriend for Ash, but I need it to be just you, what do you say? Penny would never accept that. Iono shouted. Would you? Nemona asked. It'd finally be Ash and me again, just the two of us. Penny said. Exactly, so, is that a yes? Delia asked. Miss Ketchum. Penny stared at her for a moment. Trust me when I say that's probably the most tempting offer I've ever had in life. There's nothing I would like more than being the person who takes care of Ash, but... Pay. NNY took a pause and looked at Nemona and Iono. Please, don't tell me you're actually considering that. Delia said. You said it yourself, something like that would never work. I know, but... I was a little shocked by the proposal. Just as I was still nervous by your presence, but the more I think about it, one thing resounds in my head and it isn't the consequences, the trouble or the hardships that come with polygamy. It's the fact that Iono and Nemona wanted to share Ash with me, they were waiting to tell me first so we could all give Ash our offer together, they weren't going to leave me behind so it'd be unfair of me to leave them behind. Penny, you know better than anyone how flawed these girls are. Delia insisted. And Ash knows it too. Penny answered. And he doesn't judge us because of that. And, even then, you're wrong, she shouted again now pointing at Delia. You're wrong about all these girls. They're not what you think. Mel is not evil. She's been through more pain than any human see old bear and she's still standing. And it was Ash the one who decided to take her with him. Mela was fully prepared to take responsibility for her wrongs, but Ash decided she deserved a second chance. And Nemona may have a Pokemon battle obsession, she may be a dumb battle-loving girl, but she's Ash's dumb battle-loving girl. They're so alike, they have so much in common, it's like they were made for each other. Especially because just like you said, Nemona never had a friend, she's always felt excluded because everyone treats her as crazy, but Ash accepted her. And who are you to judge Dendra? Ash is already an adult and he hasn't tried to reject her by any means, so if he can to hell and back and fight God then he can date a woman older than him, if anything, Ash is more mature than her. Hey, Dendra complained. I mean, that's probably true, but... And don't you dare doubt Iono's feelings. Penny continued taking another step towards Delia. Because I doubted them myself. But I got to know the truth. At first, she was only traveling with Ash for the views, that's no lie, but that was because she never had someone to trust because of her status, but Ash. Nemona and I showed her what it was like to have someone that cares about you because of who you really are, and look at me. Do you really think I'm the best one here? You think I'm perfect? I'm probably the worst of the bunch. I betrayed my friends. I skipped school. I lied to Ash for months because I was too scared that he'd never trust me again if I told him the truth. And guess what? He forgave me. Ash forgave all of us. He accepted us with each of our flaws and he loves us despite them, because that's what family does. You should know that. And no one, not even you, is gonna pull us away from Ash. So that's how it's going to be? Delia asked. It is. Penny nodded. So, with due respect, I'll tell you this once, Miss Ketchum, we're going to be Ash's girlfriends. All of us. And if you have a problem with that, All I can tell you is sorry, but these girls are my family and they're Ash's family too. Penny. Iono shouted with tears in her eyes and ran to give her a big hug. Why, you really meant all that? Quote, of course I do. She replied, hugging her as well, and Dendra, Mela and Nemona all went to hug her as well. Delia stared at the group for a moment and then got out of the stand and approached them. So you're saying you're gonna pull Ash away from me? Delia asked. From his own mother. Quote, Miss Ketchum, Ash is the most wonderful person we've ever met in Iono. That's because of the way you raised him. He is the person he is thanks to you, and you'll always be his mother, but he's not your little Ash anymore. He's grown and matured. He's our Ash too now. And you may be the most important person in Ash's life, but excuse my boldness when I say we're for sure second. We know it'll be unfair to make Ash choose between us and you, but if that situation were to happen, we'd do anything in our power to take Ash away from you if it means staying with him, so please, let's just get along, for Ash's sake. For Ash's sake? Delia asked. Don't talk like you know anything about that. Every step and choice I've taken since Ash was born was for his sake. That's why I'm asking you to reconsider this. Penny continued. Think of how Ash would feel if he sees us arguing like this. Trying to force each other away from him. He doesn't deserve to be in the middle of such a thing. I admit I haven't thought of that. Delia sighed. Why thought that pulling you away from Ash was the best I could do? Parents always want to do it's best for their children. Dendra said. But that doesn't mean it is the best thing to do. Delia stared at the group in silence for a few seconds and then let out a heavy sigh. I'm really sorry about the things I said. I was trying to get on your nerves, but I know I went overboard. I'm just worried. I'm really unsure of this idea you have. That's why I wanted to come to Paldea and meet you personally, and the worst part is that Ash is considering this idea as well. He is? Mela asked. For real? But why hasn't he told us? Iono asked. In simple terms, Ash is nervous. You probably know he doesn't have much love experience, and this is quite a bold first step to take. I wanted to talk with Ash about it. But before giving him any positive or negative suggestions, I had to meet you all. I had to know if Ash was giving his trust to people who were worthy of it. And, well, are we? Nemona asked. That's the thing, I still don't know. Delia sighed again. Ash may not be the smartest person on earth, but he has the biggest heart in it, so, if he likes you all enough to consider this, then there must be a good reason, and even if I'm his mother, it'd be way too selfish of me to try and dictate the things he should feel. Listen to this, I'm still not on board with this idea. But it seems to be pretty clear that I won't convince you to get away from Ash, so we'll do this. You can stay traveling with Ash, but you cannot give him the proposal to share him. If you tell him, he could end up feeling pressured and simply accept because of that. I need to see him giving that step, so I'll stay in touch with your videos and I'll be watching you by other means too. She said, causing the girls to gulp. For now, just keep making Ash feel loved. Prove me that you're worthy of him. Prove me that all that Penny said it's true. Prove me I was wrong, and then when he confesses and you all seal the deal, you'll have my blessing. Challenge accepted. Nemona said. Thank you for giving us a chance, Miss Ketchum. Penny said. We'll show you how much we love Ash. Iono said. I hope so. 'Cause like I said, I'll have my eye on you. Delia insisted. And if I ever find out that you're hurt Ash physically or emotionally, saying that I'll make you regret it would be an understatement, capiche? She asked, and the 5 girls nodded in silence. Good. Now, Penny, be kind enough to send Ash our location, would you? I'd like to see him. Sure, on it. Penny stuttered, taking her Rotom phone. Now, I suppose it's not necessary to tell you that you can't tell Ash anything about this conversation, right? Delia asked, and the girls nodded again. That's good, but we still need a little facade so he doesn't suspect anything. I'll serve you all something. We'll help prepare the table. Iono stuttered. Yeah, maybe I could help you cook, Delia. Dendra said. What, did you just call me? Delia asked softly, placing her hand on Dendra's shoulder, causing her to shiver. I mean, sorry, Miss Ketchum. Dendra shouted, taking a sudden bow. That's right, I'm the only Miss Ketchum here. Delia said, crossing her arms. For now, Mela whispered. What was that? Delia asked. Oh, nothing. Mela replied. Listen up, Dendra Quijada, you're a 25-year-old woman who stole my 18-year-old son's first kiss, trust me, I don't like you much. Delia said. You should really watch your mouth, in more ways than one. Why yes, of course, I'm really sorry. Dendra replied, trembling in fear. Good, now let's get that dinner ready, shall we? Delia said while Mela stared angrily at her and the other girls simply kept their sights down as they prepared the table. Meanwhile with Marble and Orla. Over here. Marble shouted as Orla and her made it to the main chamber of the cave. Arg, where did she go? She asked while she got off her Luxra. Why as Orla stayed on top of her Metagross as it floated around the chamber while Marble's Luxray smelled in the air. Konia, I know you're close. Marble shouted. Stop hiding and fight us like a woman. Yeah, you and I got some unfinished business after all. Orla said. I'm well aware. Konia replied while her voice echoed again. So, why don't we settle them? Metal sound. She shouted in agree. Screech came from the entrance of the chamber, breaking all of the crystals around and forcing Orla, Marble and Luxray to cover their ears in pain. Metagross wasn't affected by the sound, but he CKLY descended to the floor so Orla wouldn't fall from him. The sound stopped just as abruptly, but it was still resounding in their ears as Konia walked into the chamber along her Skarmory and Golduck. Were you looking for this? Konia asked holding a Terra key with a silver rhombus as its symbol. The steel Terra key. Konia shouted while she was still unable of standing up due to the pain of the sound. While her Metagross remained in guard in front of her, as Marble as Luxray were struggling as well. Yup, and we also got fire recently. Konia said. So now we're 7-4, doesn't look too good for you, does it? Now, what should I do? Take you hostage to force your teammates to hand over the keys they have. You step back before I wreck you with my wrench. Orla shouted while her Metagross roared. Meteor Mash. She ordered and her Metagross lifted an arm to then dash towards Konia. Terra Blast. Konia smirked rising the fire Terra key which shined with red light in both of her poke. Mon terastallized into that type to then expel two giant flames towards Metagross and knock him out with an explosion. Wild Charge. Marble shouted finally standing up again and Luxray went to attack. Terra Blast. Konia yawned now raising the ground Terra key and both Skarmory and Golduck changed to that type, blocking Luxray's Wild Charge and then using a move akin to Earth Power, summoning Erop. Tyons from the ground and knocking out the lion as well. Metal sound. Konia continued while both Orla and Marble were looking for more poke balls and the screech forced them to cover their ears again. Hey, this is so easy. Now, for the great finale. Konia raised the steel Terra key and both her Pokémon changed types again. Try not to lose your heads, dears. She said while her Pokémon's tails turned into long metal blades and they jumped towards Marble and Orla. Dirge. A flame ball suddenly came from the entrance of the chamber and hit Skarmory and Golduck, sending them flying to a wall. What in the? Konia looked back only to see Ash's Skulldurge running towards her. She jumped out of the way and Skulldurge kept running until he was in front of Orla and Marble in order to protect them as it roared to Konia. Is he in our side? Marble asked. I think. Orla replied and Skulldurge looked back at her to then smile and lick her face. Huh, Coco. Orla shouted to then hug Skulldurge's nose. I can't believe it's you. When did you get so big? What am I missing here? Marble asked. Hydro Pump. Konia shouted and her still steel-type Golduck stood up to shoot the move at Skulldurge. Oh, no, you don't. Orla quickly pulled out a Terra Orb from her pocket and activated it, surrounding Skulldurge in crystals and changing him to a water type so he could resist the Hydro Pump. Let's see how strong you've gotten, Coco. Show me a torch song. Orla ordered and Skulldurge stood in his hind legs while the small flame bird in his nose jumped in front of him to turn into microphone. Skulldurge then roared and the microphone turned into a flaming phoenix that flew towards Golduck and exploded right on his chest. Arg, Terra Blast. Konia pulled out the Psychic Terra key and Golduck changed type once again to shoot a huge pink laser from the eye that formed in his head. Use Hex. Skulldurge roared again and several skull-shaped masses of energy came from the squares and triangles in his head. The skulls then joined into a bigger one and absorbed the psychic attack to then explode on Golduck's face, knocking him out and making him lose his terastallization. Goldie. She shouted to then run and aid the duck. Are you okay? Hey, Konia. Orla shouted and Konya turned around to see the mechanic running towards her with a wrench in her hand. It wasn't metaphorical. She shouted to then slam her wrench into Konya's head and make her fall onto the floor, dropping the ghost and the steel keys. God, that was so satisfying. Orla said. Well, this will be even more. Marble said with handcuffs in hand. Konya Insar, you're under arrest. Tisk, retreat. Konya shouted and her skarmory rose up again to then shoot air slashes at Marble and Orla, forcing them to take cover. But not without Orla taking the 2 keys that Konya dropped. Skarmory then descended and Konya jumped to his back while she returned her Golduck and held her head. Skuldurge began firing hexes, but Skarmory swiftly avoided them as he flew away. This isn't over, Tackler. Konya shouted as she disappeared in the distance of a tunnel. Yeah, you bet it isn't. Orla replied to then look at 2 keys and smile. No, 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 this can't be happening. Marble shouted, stomping the ground. This was my first encounter with the explorers after weeks of following them and I completely screwed up. I couldn't even land a single hit. Hey, easy there, everyone loses a battle from time to time. Orla said. Best you can do is train to make sure you do better next time. Guess you're right. Marble sighed. Complaining won't do any good. Dirge. Skuldurge stood on his hind legs again and gave Orla a hug with his tiny arms. Coco, I'm so happy to see you. She replied, hugging him as well. Well, this big guy really saved us. Marble said, looking at the starter. Where do you know him from? He was a good friend of mine in my past job. Orla replied. I suppose he belongs to Ash now and he sent him to help us. Ash, Molly, she shouted to then run away. Hey, wait. Marble said, following her, and Skuldurge began guiding them until they made it to where Ash and Molly were. With the girl still kneeling, pointing the crystal at her neck while Ash was standing in front of her. Molly, what are you doing? Orla shouted, running at her. Orla, wait. Ash told her and she stopped running. Just take it slowly, okay? He said to then look at Molly again while she was still weeping. Molly, Paige is dead. How did that happen? What do you mean you killed her? Who's Paige? Orla asked. Paige. Marnie. Marble whispered. A strange illness spread across the west part of Sinnoh 3 years ago. Molly began explaining. It spread overwhelmingly fast. The west area had to be locked down from the rest of the region. The nurses and doctors were working like crazy. No one understood what was going on and everyone was scared, but thanks to Cynthia's guiding we managed to control it. And then, last year, right when it seemed like it was finally ending, when it seemed like everything was going to return to normal, Paige got ill. I had just graduated from the health school. I pretty much begged Mom to let me take care of her. I thought I could handle it. She continued as her voice broke and she began crying again. I tried every single thing I knew. But her condition only worsened, and yet I insisted Mom to leave her with me. Paige fought so hard. She tried to help as she could, but it didn't matter. She fell ill in April 12th. And then finally died in her sleep in September 15th. That's today. Ash whispered. Of course it is. Molly replied. Valley Windworks, Sinnoh, a year ago. September 15th. Marnie Frances Lynette. Joy said to herself while she put on a face mask to then take a plate of breakfast in her hands. Good morning, Paige, she said, walking into her younger sister's room, with Paige laying in bed wearing an oxygen mask. How do you feel today, sis? Marnie asked, placing the breakfast in a table next to Paige's bed, but her sister didn't answer. Paige, I said good morning. Marnie called her again. ND softly placed a hand in her sister's forehead, but she still didn't react. Paige. Marnie kept calling her to no avail and then stared at the oxygen mask and froze in place for roughly 10 seconds until she finally reacted. Paige, she shouted to then grab her sister's wrist and noticed she didn't have any pulse. No, no, no. She kept shouting and took off Paige's mask to start giving her chest compressions. Paige, Paige, don't you dare. Marnie desperately shouted as she began crying. Please, please, don't give up. Paige, don't leave me here. No, no, Mom. Mom, Mom, Marnie. The N. Joy ran into the room and froze once she saw what was happening. Mom, she isn't breathing. There's no pulse. Marnie shouted. Marnie. The woman slowly walked to her daughters and placed a hand in Marnie's shoulder. Why are you just standing there? Marnie shouted to then tear off her face mask. Why aren't you doing anything? Marnie. Joy began crying as well, but did her best to remain her composure. She must have hours there and you know it's only a matter of minutes when one. She's not dead. She can't be. Marnie insisted to give Paige more chest compressions. Please, please, just come back. Marnie. Enough. Her mother hugged her from behind and pulled her away from Paige. No, I can still save her. Marnie shouted again while her mother continued to drag her away. Marnie, she's gone. Joy shouted. She's not. I won't let her. Marnie kept shouting and then bit down her mother's arm in a desperate effort to make her let go off of her. Karsten. Joy shouted and her husband ran to the scene. What's all this? Paige. He asked in a whisper. Dad, tell Mom to let me go. I have to help Paige. Marnie kept crying and she begged and Karsten simply looked at his wife. Please, hold her. Joy told him to then hand Marnie over to him and he hugged her with all his strength as Joy slowly walked to Paige's bed. No, Mom, please, just let me try. Marnie continued while Joy softly placed a hand in Paige's chest while she started crying as well as Karsten. Joy then took a deep breath in a frail effort to calm herself and lifted the sheet Paige was sleeping with. Mom, stop. Don't do it. Marnie continued to try and force her way out of her father's grip while her mother covered Paige's face with the sheets. No. Paige. Back in the present. ... Paige was the only dead caused by that illness. Molly said. My sister, the only patient under my care. I didn't even get to say goodbye. Molly. That wasn't your fault. Ash said. It was. Molly shouted. I've been trying to convince myself that it wasn't my fault, but it was. I insisted in taking care of her on my own. I just had to ask for help. I should have let them take her to a hospital or with Suikun. I had to admit I wasn't ready for it. And Paige would still be alive. But she was my sister. I had to be the hero, right? If only I was good enough maybe she would still be alive. Molly said and Marble took a few steps back. ... She was only 13, she had her whole life ahead of her. It should have been me, I should have gotten ill, I should have died instead of Paige. Molly, don't say such a thing. Ash shouted. And why not? She replied. Jade just look at me, and I didn't even have the strength to go to her funeral. That day I locked myself in my bathroom, I took a pair of scissors, I pointed them at my throat, I was this close to, but then I saw my reflection in the mirror. And all I could see was Paige, she wouldn't want me to do that. She said finally pulling the crystal away from her neck, but she still didn't let go of it. But I couldn't keep seeing that same face we had. I took the scissors and cut my hair, got some clothes and ran away from home. My parents probably haven't even looked for me, can't say I blame them. Marnie, they've been looking for you like crazy. Marble said taking a step forward. I should know. I begged to be the one tasked with your search mission when you first disappeared, so you've been here in Paldea all this time. Pretty much. Molly replied. The second day of my escape, I went to the airport and traveled to the farthest place I could find and it happened to be here. I made up this character of Molly de Familia. I wandered around the region for some weeks and then I met the tacklers and joined them. Even then, I've been thinking of Paige every single day. And as much as I want to leave my past life behind, I'm still a Joy, just like Paige was, and I'm still a medic to respect her memory. I've been trying to save a life for every time her ghost haunted me, but not a day goes by where I don't want to see her, hug her, tell her that I love her. But of course, I'll never get to do that again. Molly. Orla approached the girl and knelt in front of her. Why did you never told us any of that? Because remembering what happened only makes feel worse. Molly replied. I'm sorry. I know you were just trying to help me, but I guess I'm too stubborn sometimes. You. Orla sighed and gave her a sudden hug. Molly processed for a moment and finally let go off the crystal in her hand to shyly hug Orla as well despite the injuries in her hand still bleeding. Let's just return to the Asagi, okay? Here, look what I got from Konya. Orla said showing the 2 keys. The steel and ghost keys, huh? Molly asked. Yup, she managed to escape, but not without leaving these behind. Orla said. Now we got 6 and the explorers only 5, how does that sound? Sounds great. Molly sighed. Something good came out of this day at least. Hey, Molly. Ash talked to her and stood in silence for a few seconds before continuing. Would you really like to see Paige again? Ash, I'd give everything I have just for one more minute with her. She replied. Where does that question comes from? Marble asked. I think I have an idea. Ash said. Molly, your Drifblim is one of the Drifloon you had when we met in Sinnoh, right? Yeah. Molly nodded. Was he in the house when Paige passed? Ash asked again. Of course he was. Molly replied. I think I can try a little trick someone taught me, but I'm not sure if I have enough energy to do it. Ash said. Unless, what do those keys do exactly? Well, the most crucial thing is that they can change a Pokémon's terrestrialize and power it more than usual. That's exactly what we need. Ash continued. Ash. Molly simply looked at him in silence. You're saying, I'm not a 100% sure, I know the theory. But I still haven't perfected the practice. Ash replied. Even then, I think it's worth a shot. What do we have to do then? Molly asked. First off, use the ghost key on Skulldurge and Drifblim. Ash explained. Got it. Orla raised the key and purple light surrounded the two Pokémon to then terrestrialize them into ghost. Now, Molly, I'd need you to give me your hands. But they're still injured so we should. No. She stopped him. Whatever you're trying to do, we're doing it right now. Fine then. Ash offered her his hands and Molly hesitated a bit, but she then grabbed them. There. Now Drifblim, wrap your arms around our hands. Ash told him and the ghost followed orders. Skulldurge, you know what to do. Ash looked at his Pokémon who nodded to the N approached them and placed the tip of his nose under their hands while the fire bird jumped on top of their hands. Good. Ash said before taking a deep breath. Now, I need you two to focus. He said to Molly and Drifblim. Molly, think of all the memories you have from Paige, all the moments you shared with her, and Drifblim, I need you to think of the exact moment when Paige's soul left her body. Fwoosh. Drifblim said to then close his eyes as he began to shine purple. Here we go. Ash closed his eyes began shining blue as his body began expelling aura. Skulldurge then closed his eyes as well and began shining red to then use Hex and make the skulls spin around the group. Ash. Molly, I need you to focus. Ash replied. Just trust me, okay? Okay. I just need to think of Paige. Molly closed her eyes and the aura from the other three began to surround her with a pink color. Skulldurge's fire bird then began shining with a rainbow-colored light that goes so bright that Marble and Orla had to cover there. The light kept shining brighter and reflected in all the crystals of the cave until it finally subsided and Orla and Marble were the first to open their eyes. I don't believe what I'm seeing. Marble whispered, while Ash and Molly felt another pair of hands on there and then opened their eyes to see a young Nurse Joy in front of them. Paige. Molly whispered to then start crying again. Paige. She shouted and tried to hug her, but Ash and Drifblim kept holding her hands, causing her to groan in pain due to her injuries. Molly, listen, this is only a projection of her soul. Ash told her. If you let go off my hands, the spell will be broken and she'll disappear. Okay, I just need to. Molly did her best to stop crying and breath slow. But her own emotions overwhelmed her. Paige, is that really you? She answered. And you, hey, Marnie, what's with that hair? Were you looking at Fantina's fashion show again? Of course not. Molly replied with a short laugh to then start crying again. Paige, I'm so sorry, it was all my fault. No, it wasn't. Paige replied placing a hand on Molly's cheek. I know you did everything you could and I'm proud of you. You don't know how much it hurts me to see you blaming yourself. Everyone knows it wasn't your fault. Everyone but you. Of course I'd love to still be here with you. But I guess it's just the way things are. Still, don't feel bad about me. The place where I am now is really beautiful, filled with light and peace. I hope we meet again here someday, but not yet. You still have plenty of things to live for. Keep seeing the world with your friends. Please go talk with Mom and Dad and Paige smiled to then look at Ash. Ash, thank you so much for letting me see her again. We still owed each other a goodbye. She said. Please take care of Marnie, you two will do great together, see you again, sis. She smiled to Molly who bursted into tears again and forced her way out of Ash's grip to huge Paige for a brief moment before she disappeared in several orbs of light that spread across the cave and vanished one by one into the air. Molly then hugged herself as her breathing got heavy, but she then took a deep breath to calm herself and cleaned her tears to then smile. You okay? Orla asked. You know, I always thought Paige blamed me for what happened. Molly replied. That's why I tried so hard to convince myself that it wasn't my fault, so hearing her saying all that to me, hey. Molly smiled wider and then stared at Ash to jump over him and catch him a hug. Thank you, she whispered to him to then stare into his eyes. I don't know if this will get across just how thankful I am, but. Molly smiled into then grab Ash's cheeks and land a kiss on his lips. Thank you. I'm glad I could help. Ash smiled at her while they both blushed. Now, your hands. Oh, right, I forgot about that. Molly said. There's a first aid kit on my backpack, can you? On it. Ash replied. Ash, where did you learn to do that? Orla asked approached them while Ash treated Molly's injuries and Marble kept herself some steps behind. An aura master from Kalos taught me. Ash replied. I had a battle with her and she sensed aura in me. After our battle she showed me an old book with plenty of aura sp. LLS and this was the one which interested me the most. She said she had already taught it to her granddaughters so they could talk with their father. I actually practiced it a bit with Skuldurge but I couldn't get it to work. It seems like you need 4 to do it. Huh, so I was right. Coco belongs to you. Orla said. Coco? Ash asked. Yup, that's the nickname I gave him when we first met. Orla said while patting Skuldurge. Back when I was Professor Turo's assistant in his lab. You worked for Turo? Ash asked. Yup, I used to be his right-hand mechanic. Orla said. I always thought Hi's vision of the future was really interesting. Marnie. Marble whispered looking at her and finally decided to approach her. So, it's really you, huh? Valley Windworks, Sinnoh, 11 months and 3 weeks ago. Marnie. Marble knocked the door of her girlfriend's room while wearing a black dress. Meanwhile Marnie was laying in the floor in fetal position on the other side of the door. Come on, we need to go to the funeral. I'm not going. Marnie replied between weeps. Marnie Frances Lynette Joy, this is your sister's funeral. You can't just not go. Marble replied. I failed her. Marnie continued. I promised to everyone that I'd save her. I promised her we'd go out again. She was so excited to see Ash and the Masters 8. I told you should have let your parents take her to an hospital or at least with Suicune. Marble said. But you didn't listen. I just wanted. You wanted what? Marble shouted. What were you trying to prove? I just wanted to help Paige. I'm her sister. I'm a doctor. I'm a good doctor. Marnie shouted standing up to then hold the doorknob. If you were good enough maybe she would still be alive. Marble shouted slamming her fist onto the door. And making Marnie take a few steps away from it as her breathing got heavy. Marnie. Marble thought for a second after hearing herself. Sorry, I didn't mean to say like that, it's just, arg, I told you. Why didn't you listen? Go away. Marnie told her doing her best to not cry out loud and she sat in the floor again. Please, just go away. Are you seriously not coming? Marble asked and only got silence in response. Fine, I'll tell your parents, we'll be back after the funeral, love you. Back in the present. Marnie, we need to talk. Marble said approaching her even more. Until they were face to face. Listen, last time we talked I said things that I should have. Don't worry about it. Molly interrupted her. Please, let's just not mention any of that. Can't we try again? Marble suddenly asked. What do you mean? Molly asked. I'm really sorry, okay. Marble shouted. I know I hurt you, I know I failed you, please give me another chance. Let's go back to Sinnoh together and make things the way they were before. You have no idea of how much I've missed you. I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss you too. Molly replied. But things won't ever be the same as they were before. Way too much time has passed and way too many things have happened. I'm not the Marnie you once met. And I can tell you changed too. Only that you changed for the better. I'm not too sure about that. Marble sighed. Marnie, please, I'm a mess without you. This is all my fault, isn't it? Your fault? Molly asked. Marble, did you blame yourself for my disappearance? Every single day. Marble replied. I knew what I said was wrong, but I was too stubborn to simply admit it. I spent countless sleepless nights trying to find you. I moved every rock in Sinnoh. I promised to your parents, to the whole town, that I'd bring back home safe and sound, and they all trusted me. After all, what kind of officer wouldn't be able of tracking her own girlfriend? We gave up after the 3rd month. I failed all of them. The people of the town started to murmur, to say it was my fault, that maybe someone I arrested or pursued found out you were my girlfriend and tried to send a message. I thought that too for some time. Since the search was closed, I haven't had the guts to go back to Windworks. Your parents called me sometimes, but I never had the strength to answer. What am I supposed to tell them now? Just tell them I'm fine, Molly replied. I can't just tell them you're alive out of nowhere, Marble shouted. You have to come with me so I can bring you with them, that way they'll finally trust me again, she said, to then grab Molly's wrist, but the nurse quickly pulled away. So this is about that? About getting them to forgive you? Molly asked. This isn't about us. What? No, it is about us, Marble said. I'm just still trying to process this whole thing. I thought you were dead, Marnie. It's Molly, she firmly replied. And honestly, I feel like Marnie, or at least most of her, died alongside Paige. Well, you're still Marnie to me, Marble shouted. You seem very much alive, and I just love that part of the story where you never contact me or your parents ever again. Please, Marnie, if you won't do it for me, at least do it for them. Just think about your pa. Rents were already mourning Paige's dead, and then you disappeared. They didn't deserve to lose both daughters. I'll think about it, Molly replied with a sigh. That's good to hear. Marble took a deep breath. Now, I should be leaving. I have to inform the Interpol about my encounter with Konya and that the explorers are looking for the Terra keys. Let's trade numbers, okay? I have the feeling you guys will meet with the explorers again. Please call me when that happens. Okay then, Orla replied, and they all traded numbers with Marble. The quartet then made their way out of the cave and Marble left while Orla, Molly and Ash made their way back to the festival together. There, I already informed the team of our little encounter, Orla said with her Rotom tablet in hand. They'll be waiting for us in the festival. Why didn't they made it to the cave? Molly asked. They stopped at the festival to pick up Murdoch, but he was too busy with paperwork, so they had to wait for him. Oh, right. I was supposed to handle the paperwork, Molly said. Hey, so, should I call your Molly or Marnie now? Orla asked. Molly will do, she answered. I guess I already got used to it. But I don't want to keep running away from my past life, so. Molly Joy de Familia, how does that sound? Sounds great, Orla said. Yup, rolls out the tongue pretty well, Ash added. Hey, Joy. What? Your eyes, Ash said. They're blue again. Huh. Molly pulled out her Rotom phone and opened the camera to see herself. They've been gray since I met you, Orla said. They started losing color after Paige died, Molly said. I never understood why. Well, I think I should get back with my friends before they start worrying, Ash said once the three made it back to the festival. See ya then. We'll be returning with our group as well, Orla said while Molly approached Ash again and kissed his cheek. Thank you. You saved my life, she whispered to him, to then stare at his eyes with a wide smile before walking away with Orla. Ash stayed looking at them for a moment until he decided to go his own way and left in another direction to reencounter with the girls. A few minutes later. Alright, so the coordinates Penny sent me should be here, Ash said, turning around the corner to then see Delia and the girls finish with preparing the table. Mom, he shouted to then run to her. Hi, honey, Delia said while he hugged her. I'm so happy to see you again. I missed you more than I usually do. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? What are you even doing here? Ash asked. There, I just wanted to have some fun in the festival and I happened to meet your friends, she replied, brushing his hair while she smiled, contrasting with the serious persona Liddy that she showed the girls earlier and leaving them all surprised by this. Now, come and have a seat. We were waiting for you. These girls are very polite. They all helped me prepare everything, Delia explained while the 5 girls simply smiled nervously as they sat down as well. I'm glad you got to meet them, Ash said. They're great, right? Well, they're surely something, Delia said, giving them all that menacing look from earlier. Hey, Ash, where did you go when you left? Nemona asked. Is everything okay? Well, I was with Orla and Molly. Ash replied. And how's Molly? Mela asked. Better now. He answered. You were right, she had PTSD, but I think I just gave her a big help. That's Ash Ketchum for you. Delia said with a smile. Now, let's enjoy the meal. Meanwhile with Orla and Molly. I'm glad you could finally get some resolution to what troubled you so much. Orla said while they continued to walk together around the festival. Me too, that was the best thing to ever happen to me in a long while. She replied to then look at her bandaged hands. I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't met with Ash. I'm really glad he stopped you. Orla said. I don't want to imagine the team without you, what would have I even told them? Especially to Dot. Hey, yeah, my mind was seriously blocked. Molly said. Speaking of thoughts. Orla stared at Molly to then grin. Where did that kiss come from? Guess it was something of the mood of the moment. Molly replied with a light blush. I did think he was quite handsome when we first met. And so you kissed him out of nowhere. Orla continued. Right on the lips, in front of your ex-girlfriend. You just had to bring that up. Molly sighed. Listen, Marble was a really great girlfriend. But she said something that really hurt me, something that haunted me for a long while, and even then, it's been a year since the last time we saw each other. Hey, I didn't mean it like that. Orla said. But since we're at it, don't you think Ash is dating that girl Mela he brought to eat curry? Well, he didn't complain about the kiss, so I doubt it's anything serious. Molly said. And even if it was. A rising Volt tackler never backs down. That's right, alright, Orla said. I'll be cheering on you then. We'll need to find you a boyfriend too. Molly said. I think I'll pass. Orla said. Ash just seems nice, she thought. But after everything Molly has been through, nah, I'll leave him to her. Orla. Molly. Murdoch called them and they saw in front of the stand along with Dot. Freed and Ludlow. Girls. Dot ran to them and grabbed the two in a tight hug. Dot. You're outside. Molly said surprised. I couldn't contact you, I was worried so I came out. Dot replied. Molly, your hands. She shouted scared while the rest of the crew approached them. Konya did that to you? Freed asked. You're injured. Murdoch shouted. Arg, I know I should have followed you. How could you let them go alone like that? Dot shouted at her uncle. Easy there, Konya didn't do this to me. Molly replied. I did it. What? Dot asked. Guys, we've known each other for a couple months. Molly said. I told you, you're all like family to me. I think it's fair you all know the truth. Who I really am. My name is Marnie Frances Lynette Joy. And I'm from Sinnoh. So after getting everything ready, I ran away. I ended up here in Paldea and made up this character of Molly de Familia. I wandered alone for some months. And then I met you guys. At first when I arrived here I tried to forget everything about being a Joy, but I just couldn't. Healing, Pokemon centers, treatments, all that was seared onto my brain, so. To kinda honor Paige's memory, I continued being a nurse, only that I took a different approach to it. I started helping people, trainers and wild Pokemon I encountered on the road. Those who wouldn't be able of making it to a Pokemon center. Not like I wanted to go to one of those anyway, all of the Joys are either my aunts or cousins and they would surely recognize me. But one day I was feeling really down, more than usual. It was the anniversary of the day Paige first got ill. I went to the Pokemon center of the city I was in to ask the Joy there to call my parents, and then. Right when I was going in. 6 months ago. What do you mean you can't come? Murdoch shouted to the nurse Joy of the center. I'm really sorry, sir, but I'm way too busy here in the center, I can't just leave right now. She replied. But this is my niece we're talking about, she's really ill. Murdoch insisted. It'll take just a few minutes. Can't you bring her here? The nurse asked. She doesn't want to leave her room. Murdoch replied. It's complicated. Again, I'm sorry, but I can't leave the center. If you don't bring her here then there's nothing I can do. She replied. Sigh, fine. Murdoch gave in and then took his leave, walking past Molly without noticing her, but Molly easily saw the sincere concern in his face. Hi there, can I help you with anything? The nurse Joy asked to Molly. No, thanks, she replied, leaving the center as well to then follow Murdoch. who released a Tropius to then jump on his back while the sauropod took flight. Molly then released her Driftblim and took his arms while the ghost elevated to then follow Tropius, flying silently behind him until they made it to the Asagi. Murdoch's Tropius then landed on a platform on top of the ship. The platform then started to descend inside the ship while Molly's Driftblim descended above their heads without them noticing. The platform finally stopped in an empty room where Freed and Ludlow were waiting for Murdoch. No luck? Freed asked. None. Murdoch replied to then return his Tropius. The Nurse Joy is too busy, she can't come to help. Maybe I can do something about it, Molly said as she landed in front of them along her Driftblim. What the? Garchomp. Freed interrupted Murdoch and released the dragon who stood in front of Molly and roared at her, but the girl remained unfazed. Okay, you have 10 seconds to explain who you are, how did you get here and what do you want? First off, my name is Molly de Familia, she answered. Second, I simply followed Uncle Muscles from the center to here. You seriously didn't notice her? Freed asked to Murdoch. I didn't sense her at all. Murdoch replied. Yeah, my horoscope says I don't tend to gather attention. Molly replied. And you guys live in a giant flying golden ship, it doesn't go exactly unnoticed. As for what I want, I heard you arguing with that Nurse Joy about your sick niece. I'm a medic too. I want to help. Why would you? Freed asked. Yeah, why would you care about Dot's health? Murdoch asked. It's just a random act of kindness. Molly replied. Too much for men to understand. I say we trust her. Ludlow said, surprising Freed and Murdoch. Fine then, name's Captain Freed Marvin and this is Ludlow Dogwire. And it'd be Murdoch Gibkin. He said. We'll take you with Dot. Alright, but if you even try anything slightly suspicious, we'll kick you out of the ship, which I must remind you, is in the middle of the sky. Sounds fair, I'm quite the home invader after all. Molly accepted. Fine, Murdoch, take her to Dot's room. Freed said. Ludlow and I will remain in guard in case someone else followed you too. Sure, come with me. Murdoch said to then guide her through the Asagi until they made it to Dot's room, finding Dot laying on bed while Orla was standing by her side. If you were good enough, maybe she would still be a. Live Marble's voice resounded in Molly's head as she got a flashback of her time aiding Paige, causing her to take a step back. What's the matter? Murdoch asked. Nothing. Molly replied and shook her head. Who might you be? Orla asked. I'm Molly de Familia, I'm a medic. She replied. That's good to hear, Orla answered. Name's Orla Milfi, I'm the mechanic of this ship, glad Murdoch could finally find a doctor. Can I? Molly asked, pointing at Dot. Of course. Orla moved aside and stood by Murdoch's side, while Molly approached Dot as the uncle kept his sight on her every movement. So you're Dot, right? Molly asked, kneeling next to the bed while she pulled out a thermometer from her backpack. Yeah, it's short for Achu, she complained while Molly put the thermometer in her mouth. Name's Molly, I'm a doctor. She said. I heard from your uncle that you didn't want to go to the Pokemon Center so they could check you there, why is that? I don't like hospitals, she answered while still holding the thermometer with one side of her mouth. I don't like to get out of my room for anything honestly. Why not? Molly asked and Dot simply looked away. Molly stared at the girl for a moment to then take the thermometer in her hand again. Looks like a common fever, Molly said to then try and move Dot's hair from her face, but the girl stopped her with her hand. I'd just like to touch your forehead, is that okay? I dunno. Dot shyly answered. It'll be fast, I promised. Molly insisted and Dot sighed to then let go off Molly's hand and nod. Thank you. Molly smiled and softly brushed Dot's hair out of her face to finally get a clear view of her. Dot stared at her for a second, but then closed her eyes. Molly placed a hand on Dot's forehead. Those are some really pretty eyes, why hide them like that? My uncle says they're the same eyes my mom had, that's why I don't like to show them. Dot replied. It makes me sad thinking about her. So she passed? Molly asked and Dot nodded, still with her eyes closed. Well, it's normal to feel sad about that, but life goes on, we all have to move on. It doesn't have to be a bad thing that you have the same eyes she had, it means that, in a way, a part of her still lives in you, you get it? Yeah, I think I do. Dot smiled to then open her eyes. Good. Molly said to then pulled out from her backpack a spoon and a bottle of medicine. This is a little homemade medicine of mine, you just need to take a spoonful of it and you'll be healed by the morning. Okay then. Dot replied and opened her mouth so Molly could give her the medicine. It tastes terrible. Yup, but it's worth it. Molly said. Really? Simple as that? Orla asked. I doubt it. Murdoch said. Like I said, it was just a common fever, pretty easy to control. Molly said. You guys seriously haven't done anything about it? Well, we barely had any medicine in the ship to begin with. Orla replied. I tried to go and buy some, but since I wasn't sure of what Dot had, I got nervous, so between her not wanting to go out and us not finding a doctor things got a bit complicated. Well, I'd like to stay overnight with her if that's okay. Molly said. Just to make sure everything's completely under control. I'm not too sure about that. Murdoch said. Don't worry, Murdoch, I'll stay with her too. Orla said. Fine, fine. Good night, Dot. Murdoch said to her, but his niece simply stared at him in silence and then covered herself with her sheets. Quote. Love you too, he said with a sigh to then leave the room and close the door, while Orla and Molly sat in the floor next to the bed. Dot, if you feel anything weird, please tell us, okay? Molly asked. Sure. Dot replied under the sheets. Welcome aboard, by the way. Orla said to Molly. Thanks. Molly smiled. So, how did everything play out? Freed asked as Murdoch entered the control room. I'm not sure. Murdoch replied. I still don't know if we should trust that girl. Well, to be fair, Murdoch, I didn't trust you that much when we first met. Freed answered. And look where we are now. Guess that's fair, but I really doubt she'll make Dot feel any better. Murdoch replied. The next morning, I feel better than ever. Dot exclaimed in the breakfast table. Just as promised. Molly said. I'm still surprised by how easy you solved it. Orla said. Yeah, I'm really sorry I didn't trust you. Murdoch said. Thanks a lot for helping Dot. You're very skilled in medicine, aren't you? Dot asked. That's something in my veins, I fear. Molly replied. Sounds exactly like what we need too. Freed said. What happened with Dot may have been simple. But we could face something more complicated later on. This team really needs a healer. What do you say, Molly? Would you like to join the Rising Volt Tacklers? Are you guys sure you want me? Molly asked. HMMP. Ludlow nodded. Of course. Freed replied. Yeah, definitely. Dot said. You bet. Murdoch said. We need some more girl power over here. Orla said. Very well. I guess I'm in. Molly said with a smile. Back with Ash. Hey, Ash, I'm really sorry about that kiss. Dendra told him while they were cleaning the table after the dinner was finished, said Dinnerwa. Filled with an awkward silence as Delia kept staring at the five girls. I shouldn't have done that without warning. Dendra, if it makes you feel better. Ash looked at her before sighing to then smile. I actually liked it a lot. He said with a blushed face. You did. Dendra shouted with a big smile. Yeah, I mean, it was my first and all that but it felt nice. Ash replied. Yes. Dendra grinned with a massive blush to then hug Ash while Delia and the girls simply stared at her. Well, it's not like that matters. Nemona said pulling him away from Dendra. When Ash and I get to have our first kiss. It's gonna be far more cinematic. Why yeah, when we kiss it'll be in a far more appropriate place than a food festival. Penny added. Yeah, I bet your kiss tasted like mayo. Iono said. My first kiss with Ash will have more effort. Everyone's making plans I see. Ash said embarrassed while Delia simply sighed. Now, the question of the century. Mela said. Who's gonna get Ash's second kiss? Well, I already got a second kiss actually. He replied. You did? Dendra asked. What? Penny shouted. Iono exclaimed. Konyo. Nemona shouted. From who? Mela asked. Hey, Ash. A voice called from above and the group looked up to see Molly descending on the brave Asagi's anchor while the giant ship floated above their heads. You got a minute? She asked. Did then jump off the anchor and land in front of Ash. Sure, what for? Ash asked. Well, I already told my teammates the whole truth. Murdoch said he wanted us to make a ritual for Paige and C. NCE I got to see her again thanks to you. I was wondering if you'd like to come by. Of course, I'd be an honor. Ash replied. Girls, this is Joy. Molly interrupted him. Molly Joy de Familia. And if you're Ash friends then you're all invited as well. Invited to what? Delia asked. Well, that's quite a long story, but I imagine we got the time. Welcome to the brave Asagi. Maul. IE said, guiding Ash's group along with Delia to the living room of the ship, where Murdoch, Freed and Ludlow were waiting for them, the three of them wearing white suits. You brought quite some guests, Molly. Freed said. Welcome aboard, everyone. Nice to meet you, I suppose you'd Freed and Ludlow. Ash said. And who's Dot? You'll have to excuse my niece. Murdoch said. We told her about this. But she's always locked in her room, so I understand she wouldn't come to this. As always, you don't understand. Dot said, arriving into the room along with Orla, both of them wearing white dresses and carrying more white clothes in their arms. This is important to Molly, which means is important to me. Dot said to then put on a white hairband and pull her hair back to show her face, which was giving Murdoch quite an unfriendly glare. Let's just get this. Dot stared at the group that Molly brought and froze in place once she spotted two of its members. Welcome aboard. Orla said. We got some clothes for you so you could join us. Why all these white clothes? Delia asked as she received a white dress from Orla. Most people wear all black in funerals since they're meant to be sad days. Murdoch said. But this isn't about mourning Paige's death, it's about celebrating her life, cause in my culture, death is not the end, and from what Molly told us you three just confirmed that. We sure did. Orla replied after giving white dresses to Penny, Nemona, Dendra and Mela. While Dot was standing and blushing madly in front of Iono and Ash. Why these two of all people? Dot thought. Why at the same time? You okay? Iono called her. Dot shouted. Why yeah, sorry, I was just thinking about something. This would be yours. She saw it handing a dress to Ash and a suit to Iono. Well, I'll surely look fabulous with this. Iono said. Wouldn't be the first time I wear a dress. Ash said. Nor the second or the third for that matter. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean it, you can just swap. Dot told them. Hey, don't worry, Dot, it's fine. Ash said. So, Dot, Iono asked. Yeah, it's short for. That's a really cute name. Iono exclaimed. C-C cute. Dot shouted. Yup, a cute name for a cute girl. Ash continued. Like, look at those freckles, they're so cute. Iono said. Her eyes are cute too. Ash said. And your hair looks so cute that way. Iono shouted. Stop calling me cute. Dot shouted as she started hyperventilating. What's with her? I call her cute all the time. Murdoch said. I think Dot here is having what the young lads call a bi-panic. Freed said. A what? Murdoch asked. I think it's better if I don't explain you. Freed said while Ludlow laughed. Alright, everyone, change yourselves. Murdoch said. We'll arrive in our designated spot in a few minutes. Here, Molly, this is yours. Dot said, offering her a white dress. No, thanks, there's something else I'd like to wear. Molly replied. We give thanks for the gift of Paige Frances Linnell Joy, daughter of Jennifer Day Joy and Karsten Rogers, sister of Molly Joy de Familia. We release you. Go with our ancestors. Murdoch said while they were in a beach, forming a circle around a bonfire surrounded by pink flowers with their hands joined while Molly was inside the circle wearing the white Nurse Joy outfit. This was what I was meant to wear during Paige's funeral, but I never did so. Molly said. I've carrying it with me since, so I thought I'd be fitting to use it tonight. Paige was everything to me and losing her made me lose myself. I felt like I was less than nothing, I felt like I had nothing left to live for, but then I met the Tacklers and you guys gave me a new purpose, you gave me a new family, and you, Ash. Thank you for saving me, thanks you all for being here today, even though the rest of you didn't get to meet Paige, I know she's thankful to see you here. She said to then toss one of the pink flowers in the sand and let it fall on the bonfire. Thanks for everything, sis, I know I still have work to do, but I'm not going to give up. Now, all of us are going to take a flower and leave it to the bonfire while we say some words to Paige. Murdoch said and the circle let go off their hands while he was the first one to step in and take a flower. Go and run forever, Lil. 1. Maybe I didn't get to know you, but I know this, nothing ever dies as long as you remember it. Penny said. And I'll be sure to remember you. Keep raising the flag of courage, kid. Fried said. Thank you for letting her go off that weight. Orla said. Thank you for not letting her give up. Mela said. Thanks for making Molly such a good big sister. Dot said. Wherever you are, I hope you're doing fine. Iono said. I'm sure you're as strong as your sister, be safe. Dendra said. I sincerely wish I had gotten the chance to meet you. Delia said. Le muert es la vida. Nemona said. Ve y enciende luces en otro lugar. Quote. Ludlow simply let go off the flower and took a bow. I'll take care of her, I promise. Ash said. Now the final step. Murdoch said, and the whole group went back to the Asagi to then return to the beach wearing their normal clothes and carrying the funeral clothes in their hands. They all made a line and Murdoch was the first one to let the clothes fall on the fire. Burning of the funeral garments marks the end of the mourning period, and the beginning of a new relationship with our loved ones that have passed on. He said and stepped away while the line let go their clothes one by one, with Molly and Fried being the last ones. I'll never forget you, sis. Molly said, letting go the Nurse Joy outfit and watching it burn. Her eyes got teary for a moment. But she managed to keep inside and then smile. But I'm ready to move on. Well, guess I'm the last one. Fried said with 2 suits in hand. Why do you have 2 suits? Nemona asked. The other one is from the last funeral I went to, but I didn't want to burn it back then. Fried answered. It was the funeral of my mentor, the previous captain of the Asagi. Drake Radaka. But that's a story for another day. Drake died. Ash asked. So you knew him, huh? Fried asked. Yeah, I think he mentioned a stubborn trainer and his Pikachu, dumb as a brick, but ith heart and potential to be the very best, like no one ever was. I suppose he wasn't wrong. He said to then let both suits fall onto the fire. Guess we're done here. Hey, guys, if we run back to the festival we can make it to the closing ceremony. How about we go there? Murdoch said. I say we go. Molly said, and the group went back to the Asagi while she stared at the bonfire one more time before smiling and walking away. Once the beach was empty, Marble came out from a rock she was hiding behind, looking around to make sure no one was going to return. She then approached the fire and took one of the flowers in the sand and stared at it. Paige, you said Marnie and Ash would do great together. Marble said. That means you don't want her to be with me anymore. I know I hurt her, but it wasn't my intention. I still love her. Of course I want her to be happy again, but I'd like to be part of that happiness too. Just, please, watch over us. She said to then drop the flower onto the fire. Some minutes later. Thank you all for accompanying us in this hard time. Clavel said in a stand along Gita and all the stand owners, Murdoch and Delia included. Thank you to all our wonderful chefs for making such delicious food, and thanks to all our customers. Rest assured that all your purchases will help in the reconstruction of the Naranja Academy. Now, let's give ourselves a big round of applauses. I hope to see you all and even more next year. He exclaimed, and the whole clapped along the owners. So you'll be going back to Kanto now? Ash asked to his mother after the event ended. Yes, I only came here for the festival after all, but it was great to meet your new friends. She said to then stare at the girls. I hope you all take care of my Ash. Why yes, Miss Ketchum. They said in unison. Ah, hello there, Miss Ketchum. Gita called as she approached her. Quite the honor to meet you. I'm Gita Omodaka, top champion of Paldea and chairwoman of its league. I imagine your son has told you about me. Ah, yes, you. Delia smiled to then approach Gita. I don't like you one bit either. She whispered to her to then walk away. Finally, Penny shouted. Well, that was Liko. Ash exclaimed, seeing the girl among the crowd, and she quickly ran away once she noticed him. Liko, wait. Ash instantly ran after her, but he lost track of her between all the people around and then lost track of where he was as well, being unable of spotting any of the girls. Perfect, he said, looking around until he bumped on a blonde ponytail. Leah. Hi there, Ash. She replied, now wearing an orange dress and a yellow belt. Good to see you again. Did you enjoy the festival? I sure did. What about you? Ash asked. It was great, she exclaimed. You see, I'm the owner of a small cafe, so this was a great opportunity to somewhat expand and show my work to more people. My business card. She shouted, offering it to Ash, and he took it. Thought I'm still really sorry you had to pay for all of Carmine's stuff. Don't worry, I wouldn't have wanted you to lose money like that. Ash replied. I can tell you work really hard on your cafe. Why, of course. I bake, mix, stir and serve everything I sell. Leah said. It's the work of my life and I'm really proud of it, so if you really enjoyed the iced tea, pay me a visit when you can. I sure will. Great, see you around. Leah said to then walk away as she waved at him. Who is that blondie, huh? Someone whispered on Ash's ear. Gah, Marnie. Ash exclaimed, turning around to see the punk girl wearing her usual clothes again. That was Leah, a friend of mine I met here. You got plenty of friends, don't you? Marnie asked, getting closer to him. Of female friends mostly, right? I guess. Ash replied. How close were you and B? Marnie asked. Well, I never got to know B in a personal way, so. Are you into muscle girls? Marnie interrupted him. Well, I certainly wouldn't complain. Ash replied. I feel praised all of a sudden. Aries said to herself. Are you into glasses girls then? How close are you and Penny? Marnie continued to ask. Well, quite closer than I was to B. But that's because Penny and I have been traveling together for a while now. Ash answered. I see. Marnie giggled at him. And what do you think of me? Well, you're a beautiful and strong girl who's fighting to help her hometown and her family, what else is to say? Spikemouth is lucky to have you. With the gift of word as always. Marnie smiled to then look for something in pocket of her dress. Here, another gift, she said, pulling out a single wrapped chocolate, and Ash took it. By the way, I'll stay in Paldea for some weeks, so I imagine I'll see you soon. Until then, he said, adjusting her cap to then walk away, and Ash ate the chocolate afterwards. Oh, hey there, Mr. Ketchum. Yancey. Ash called, seeing her approaching her while he yawned. I'm so glad you're still here. Would it be okay if we trade numbers? She asked. I'd like to be in contact with you. Sure thing. Ash replied with another yawn to then hand over his Rotom phone to Yancey. Thanks. Shish. He answered shyly, taking it while she made sure to not see anything private and type her own number to then call it and save the contact in both phones. There, thanks a lot. Yancey said, handing over the phone back to Ash. Great. Ash said while he took the phone and let out yet another yawn. Ash closed his eyes and suddenly fell asleep, with Yancey making a quick movement to hug him so he wouldn't hit the ground. Ash. She called, blushing madly due to the direct contact, to then softly leave in the floor to check him while Ash snored. He just fell asleep. Am I really that boring? She asked herself to then look at the sleeping Ash. He looks so peaceful, for someone who has been through the things he has. Yancey softly placed a hand on Ash's cheeks and gently caressed it. Thank you so much for opening my eyes. If only. Hey, is that Ash Ketchum? Is he okay? Someone asked behind Yancey. Gah, I'm sorry. Yancey shouted to then run away at full speed. Hey, you. Sarah shouted at the girl to then focus on Ash, calming down once she noticed he was only sleeping. Let's see. Sarah opened a small cooler she was carrying with her and pulled a frozen popsicle to then press it on Ash's mouth, making him wake up instantly. There, welcome back. Sarah smiled at him, and Ash saw her wearing denim jeans and a sleeveless cyan shirt while she had her hair down. What just happened? Ash asked. I dunno, I saw you sleeping in the floor next to this pink-haired girl and she ran away when I asked if you were okay. Sarah explained. That must have been Yancey. Ash said. I felt kinda drowsy after eating that chocolate Marnie gave me. Anyway, how you doing? I'm great. I was here in a popsicle stand with Grusha. It's something we do since we were both quite young. It's kind of a tradition for us. I see, it's always to see brothers getting along like that. Ash, Penny, Nemona, Iono, Dendra and Mela shouted at him after finally finding him. You. Sarah shouted to Mela with a poke ball in hand. I come in peace. Mela stuttered. Chill out, Mela's with us now. Iono said. She's reforming herself. Are you serious? Sarah asked. They are. Mela nodded. I'm really trying to fix my messes. Alright then. Sarah replied, still unsure, but her Rotom phone then ringed. And that's Grusha. Guess I'll see you later, take care Ash. She said to then walk away while still staring at Mela. I should be leaving as well. I have a meeting with the school staff now. Dendra sighed to then walk to Ash. Hey, I'm not asking for an instant answer. But I just hope that kiss left you thinking. Hey, I'll be waiting for our next one. Ash winked at her and smiled, and Dendra hugged him tight to then kiss his cheek and look at the other girls. Let's all keep making progress, she said, separating from Ash to then give the girls a thumbs up before leaving the scene as well. The rest of the group then made their way out of the festival, seeing all the stands closed as they made it to the outskirts of it. So, where do we go now, Ash? Mela asked. I'm not too sure honestly, he replied. There's just so many things to do in Paldea. Hey, guys, hold on a second, Murdoch called them as he ran towards the group. Listen, the crew and I were talking, and since it's already late we were wondering if you'd like to spend the night with us in the Asagi. Huh, well, what do you girls say? Ash asked them. Sounds fun, Iono exclaimed. Doesn't seem exactly safe though, Penny added. Yo ho, ya voy, Nemona replied. Well, I've never slept in a flying ship before, Mela said. Let's do it. Seems like it's decided then. Ash nodded to Murdoch. A few minutes later. Great, make yourselves comfortable, Fried said while he guided Ash's group through the deck where the rooms of the ship were. We have more than enough rooms for you all, but of course you can share, as long as you don't make too much noise, he said, winking and making the five blush. Good, thanks for the warning, Penny said. Now, the four of us will share a room since we still have some things to talk about, and Ash will have a room for himself, okay? Sounds good, Ash replied to the approach the girls and plant kisses on Penny's, Nemona's and Iono's foreheads, leaving them all blushing. Good night, he said to then look at Mela, who was also blushing and had her arms crossed while looking directly at Ash. I mean, it's not like I'm going to complain, she said, and Ash approached to kiss her forehead as well. Why yeah, good night. Boy, the luck of some people. Fried smirked at the scene. Well, good night for my part as well, he said to then leave the group, and they split in the room as accorded, the four girls sharing one room while Ash being alone in the other, while Pikachu also went with the girls. Boy, I'm really on board with this, huh? Ash asked to himself in front the door of his room. The girls don't seem to mind that I give attention to all of them, but I still wonder if I'm doing the right thing. Ash thought in silence for a moment until he was interrupted by a soft hug from behind. Molly, Ash asked, turning his head to see the girl resting her head on his shoulder to then give him a cheek kiss. Were you going to sleep without giving me good night? She asked with a smile. Of course not, Ash said to then turn around so they could be face to face. How are you feeling? Ash, this is the best I've felt in over a year, and it's thanks to you, she said to then ab his cheeks and plant a kiss on his lips. Hey, how funny, she smirked after separating. It's easy to tell you don't have much experience kissing. Yeah, well. Hey, that's nothing to be ashamed about, she said to then push him softly onto the door. Let's see if I can teach you a thing or two tonight. Somewhere else in Paldea. How could you just lose 2 keys? Zir shouted. They took me by surprise, okay. Konia replied. Arg, I knew that Ketchum Kid would be a problem. Zir continued. That doesn't matter, Amethio interrupted. The tacklers have stood in our way long enough, prepare everything you need. We'll do a direct attack to the Asagi. Okay, I think we all need a recap to process this crazy day, Penny said with a chalk and a board on hand. So today we went to the annual Paldene Food Festival, which this year was held to help gather funds for the reconstruction of the Naranja Academy. We all had dates with Ash in different stands of the festival, although the rest of us were watching from afar. As for dates, well, mine was, a bit improper, she said while making simple drawing of the scenes one by one. Ash then took Iono by surprise. Nemo got a bit drunk. Dendra broke a table and Mela opened a bit more with Ash, then he had a date with Gita who's totally evil. Mela interrupted. Yeah, we know, keep moving. So, after the dates, Ash gave Dendra a cooking lesson which ended with Dendra stealing Ash's first kiss. AAA arg. Whatever. While we were scolding Dendra for doing that, Ash left the scene, apparently confused by his feelings, on the same. We also lost Pikachu from our sight, so we went looking for everyone's favorite electric mouse, and it ended up being a trap made by Miss Delia Ketchum, Ash's mother, who, at some point while we were distracted by the dates, told Pikachu to guide us to her. Since she wanted to talk with us about our relationship with Ash, she had been following us with Iono's videos, and thanks to the polls in her channel, she also found out about the harem ending plan, a plan that I'm still processing. By the way, I mean, trying to court so many people is simply insane, and that I willingly join indicates I'm not in the right mind either. I cannot imagine myself loving anyone other than Ash, but I cannot imagine you all not being part of that either. Still, Miss Ketchum was really against the idea. She even wanted us to stop traveling with Ash completely, but after some discussion we managed to achieve an agreement. We can all still travel with Ash, but we cannot give him our offer to share him. He is the one who has to suggest it to us, since, according to Miss Ketchum, Ash has been considering the idea as well. We later meet with Ash again, and after a dinner we meet Molly. Ash and her told us what happened between them, including the fact that Molly got Ash's second kiss. RGH. Arg. So yeah, we met the Rising Volt tacklers, went to Molly's sister's funeral, returned for the closing ceremony of the festival, and now we're spending the night in a giant flying golden ship. All good so far. No, nothing's good, Nemona replied, sitting in the floor next to Mela, who had Pikachu sitting on her legs while they all listened to Penny's recap, with all of the girls already wearing their pajamas. Hey, wait, where's Iono? Penny asked. Over here, she answered, laying on the floor in fetal position on a corner of the room. What's the matter? Penny asked. What do you think? Iono shouted, to then stand up and pull out her Rotom phone. And you, Dionysia Elton Nigma. You're by far the worst of them. A recording of Delia's voice was heard from Iono's phone. Just how dare you? How could you drag my son into your videos for some more insignificant views? We both know you're only using him to increase your popularity. The replay ended and Iono was now trembling in the verge of tears. Iono, you heard what Miss Ketchum said later. She didn't mean any of that. She was only trying to get on our nerves. Penny said. But she's right. Iono shouted, now fully crying. Shish, she was wrong about Mela, Dendra and Nemo, but all she said about me was true. I only joined Ash for the views, I didn't care about him at all. But you've changed since then. Penny firmly answered. I'm witness of that. That doesn't change how things started. Iono replied, crying even more. How could I do that to Ash? He gave me his full trust and I'm a monster. Iono, that's not true. Nemona shouted, grabbing the streamer by her shoulders. We both know you care deeply for Ash now. Maybe now, but I still tried to. Iono. Mela shouted and then walked to her, staring at her for a moment before giving Iono a sudden slap that knocked her onto the floor. Mela. Penny and Nemona shouted to then go and aid Iono, who was now crying even more. What is wrong with you? Penny shouted. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you all, idiots? Mela shouted. Don't you see? This is what Delia wants. Trust me, she meant everything she said, and she wants you all to look down on yourselves, to think you're not good enough for Ash. But listen to me. You're all more than enough. You will be the best girlfriends Ash could ever have. Why would you even respect that deal after everything she said? You should just give Ash your offer and have a goddamn orgy in front of the camera to boast it in her face. What was that last part? Nemona asked. You get what I mean. Mela shouted, to then sigh and offer her hand to Iono, helping her stand up. Iono, I understand you feel guilty about the things you did in the past, but look at me, I pretty much tried to kill Ash. There in the fire, I was ready to give up. Ash told me that the things we did in the past don't have to define what we are now, so if I can redeem myself from burning down a whole school, then you can redeem yourself from your silly streamer facade, which you already tossed long ago. Either way. Iono stared at Mela in silence before taking her in a sudden hug that surprised her, but Mela still answered it either way. Thank you, Mela. I needed that. Hey. You say we three should give Ash our offer, but what about you? Don't you wanna be Ash's girlfriend as well? You know you have our permission to join, right? She asked, and both Penny and Nemona nodded. Thank you. But, well, I'm not saying I don't like him. Mela replied with a blush. But I've been through far too many things these last weeks, I really don't feel ready for a relationship. Let alone a relationship of that kind. But that doesn't mean you won't join us later, right? Iono asked. I'll think about it, fine. Mela asked. Just don't tell Ash, I'll do it myself. Maybe after the probation month is done. Speaking of that, what are we going to do about Dendra? Penny asked. I understand we were all pretty angry when she stole Ash's first kiss, but her feelings are sincere. Aha. Miss Dendra is a great person and she's been really struggling with her adult life. Nemona said. She needs someone like Ash to watch her back. I still don't trust those boobs. Iono said. But since we'll let Mela join, I guess it's only fair she also joins. And what about Gita? Mela asked. Nita Puta Konya. Penny shouted. Yay. Your first Spanish quote during our travel. Nemona said. We're not letting Gita join, for real. I'm gonna prove somehow that she's evil. Besides, we'll have enough with Dendra's childness, we don't need another insecure adult in the family. Come on. Miss Dendra isn't that childish. Nemona said. Meanwhile in Dendra's house in Alfornada. I got Ash's first kiss. Dendra exclaimed, jumping on her bed while having a sleepover with Rayford and Tulip. Yeah, Dendra, we heard it when you said it the first 65 times. Rayford said as Tulip did her nails while they were both sitting in the floor next to Dendra's bed. And he said he'd be looking forward to the next one. Dendra continued bouncing. We also heard that. Tulip added. The part you haven't been mentioning as much was your little encounter with Miss Ketchum. That statement caused Dendra to lose focus and she missed the mark of her bed, ending up crashing onto the floor instead. I wasn't ready to meet her at all. Dendra sighed to then sit next to the girls. Everything was going so great, but then she showed up and I got so nervous, and saying she got a bad first impression of me would be an understatement. Well, speaking of that, are you really willing to share Ash with all those girls? Tulip asked. Of course I am. Dendra answered. You guys just didn't see it, the way Ash acted during all the dates and how Penny defended us all. If they're willing to make it work, then of course I am too. It's nice to see you so sure of something for a change. Tulip giggled. But it looks like Ash will need more than 2 hands then. I really don't think that kid is worth all this trouble. Rayford said. Just wait till you meet him, Rye. Dendra said. I bet you'll even fall for him too. I doubt it, but I do think he could be of some use to me. Rayford said. That whole trouble magnet ability of his. Why do you always talk in such a suspicious tone? Tulip asked, and the group then heard a ring coming from the front door. The three then went to open it and found Miriam and Luca. Dendra shouted to then hug a pregnant woman. How's my favorite little sister? I'm your only little sister, Dendra. She replied. Exactly. Dendra said. How was the visit to the hospital? Tulip asked. Everything's in order. Miriam said. Seems like Luca will bring a healthy baby into the world. We also finally found out. Luca said. She's gonna be a girl. Yes. The Kihata legacy lives on. Dendra celebrated. Easy there, she's a Matsumoto too. Luca said. But why? Alex left you the moment he found out you were pregnant. She shouldn't have his last name. Dendra said. He's still her father despite everything. Luca insisted. Don't worry, we'll get you a real man soon enough. Dendra said. Speaking of that, have you thought of a name for her? Tulip asked. Well, now that I know she'll be a girl, I've been considering lots of names, but I think the one I like the most right now is. Luca looked down at her belly to then smile. Liko. That's a horrible name, Rayford said. Rayford. Miriam shouted. Someone had to say it. Rayford replied. Going to the restroom, fine. She said to then leave the scene and pull out her Rotom phone to see a picture she had taken of Liko, Roy and Anne. A really horrible name, she said to herself before making a call. Sada, I think. I have something that might interest you. Some months ago. Oh okay, calm down. Liko said, walking around in the UVA Academy with her rollet on her shoulder. This is just a weird dream, right? Hee. I'm just getting unnecessarily nervous, everything's fine. She shouted to then laugh out loud until she was interrupted by a scalchop hitting her head. Sorry about that, 2 trainers said, walking to her accompanied by an Oshawott and a Cyndaquil. Our Pokemon were having a battle and my Oshawott's scalchop was sent flying. You're not hurt, are you? I'm Roy and this is Anne. Anne. Lick. Asked to look at Oshawott and then back to the girl. Aunt Anne, she whispered. What did you? Aunt Anne. Liko shouted. No, this isn't a dream, is it? How did we get here? What are we supposed to do? How do we get back? She asked, holding her head while her Rolla tried to comfort her. Did she just call you Aunt? Roy asked to Anne. Hey, are you okay? What's your name? Anne asked. My name is Liko Matsumoto Ketchum. She replied. And I need help. Back in the present. Do you need help down there, Ash Ketchum? Molly asked while Ash was sitting on the floor, the girl sitting on his lap and pushing him to the wall, while holding both his cheeks after a quite long kiss. Why yeah, I'm just taking back some air. Ash replied and Molly smirked to then take him into another lip kiss. Come on Ash, at least try to fight me back and make it more interesting. I'm doing my best. A blushing Ash replied, looking away while Molly simply giggled, taking his cheeks again to then give him another lip kiss, after which she started nibbling on Ash's lower lip to then place both her hands on Ash's shirt to pull it up slightly. Molly. Easy there, I wouldn't go that far in our first night. Quote. She smiled again. Unless you ask me to. Hey, come on, Ash, don't try to act innocent, you're barely 1 year younger than me. Molly insisted. Or is it that I ain't pretty enough? Listen, Molly, is not that I don't want this to happen. Ash replied. But I've been having lots of thoughts in my head these last days and you just confused me even more than I already was. Is Male a part of those thoughts, perhaps? Molly asked. Well, yeah, but we're not a couple if that's what you're thinking. Ash said. I see, so that's why you're traveling with so many girls. Well, yeah, wait, are we talking about the same thing? Ash asked. Well, how about we take a short break? Molly asked to then stand up and offer her hand to Ash. Let's go to the kitchen to get a drink, since it seems like we won't be getting much sleep tonight. Yeah, let's do that. Ash agreed and stood up as well. The two then made their way to the kitchen and found Orla sitting on the table with a glass of milk. Hey there, guys. Orla said. You couldn't sleep either. More like someone didn't let me sleep. Ash said. Don't talk like you didn't like it. Molly said, kissing his cheek. But what about you, Orla? Ash asked. It's nothing, I guess is more or less what Molly was feeling earlier, albeit to a lesser extent. Seeing Coco reminded me of lots of things. She explained. Mind if I see him again? Of course not. Ash replied to then release Skuldurge, who once again showed himself happy to see Orla. Hey there, big guy. She said, patting his head. So you used to work for Professor Turo? Ash said. Yup, like I told you, I was his right-hand mechanic. I worked with him for around 3 years. That's quite some time. Why did you stop working with him? Ash asked. Quote. Professor Turo had always been interested in the far future. Orla began to explain. He had the theory that Pokemon would eventually go extinct and humans would recreate them via robotic copies. Robotic copies? Ash asked, remembering his encounter with Miraidon. Yeah, we even made some blueprints and scale models, but it was just an idea. Or at least it was until that day. 3 years ago, Professor Turo's lab. A time machine? Orla asked, wearing a lab coat and looking at some blueprints with Fuecoco sitting on top of her head. Yes, I believe you and I can make it. Turo replied. I just woke up in the middle of the night with the idea of time traveling flooding my brain. These are some rough blueprints I just made. But I know we can turn it into something concrete. This could be our biggest achievement yet, like nothing Sada and Rayfort could even aspire to. Can I count on you? Of course you can, Professor. Orla assured while Fuecoco smiled. Then let's get to work. Turo said. And so we did, day after day, failure after failure, but we kept trying. I honestly thought the idea of time traveling was really dangerous. But Professor Turo was really determined to do it and I owed him a lot, so I wanted to help him however I could, and then after a year it was finally time for our first major test. All systems ready, Professor Turo. Orla said, handling a control panel with Fuecoco on her head and a safety wall in front of them, with a window that showed a closed room in which the time machine was in. And I'm ready as well. Turo replied in front of the machine wearing what seemed to be a purple space suit, with a metal cable that tied his back to the floor. Alright, if this works out you could be the first person to make an autonomous temporal jump, or the last one. Orla said. Flip the switch. Turo said looking back at her through the window that separated them. Get ready for this, Coco. Orla said initiating the activation sequence and the time machine began to power on and gather energy, forming a small orange portal that started to increase in size while the gravity in the room where Turo faded, making him float in the air. All okay, Professor? Orla asked. Yes, a gravity loss was expected, the portal seems stable, I'm going in. He answered. Please be careful, Professor. Orla said and the man pressed a button on his wrist, which activated his rocket boots and guided him slowly towards the portal. I think I see something. Turo said extending his arm to the portal. But the lights of the lab suddenly began to blink, until they went off altogether and the portal suddenly closed, making Turo fall to the floor when the gravity restored. Orla, what happened? Turo asked. I dunno. We've never had power failures before. Orla replied looking around the control panel. That is true, someone must be hijacking the system. Turo said. Just today, right now, could it be someone trying to stop us from doing the experiment? Orla asked. But the only ones who know about this are Sada and Rayford. Turo said before the portal suddenly reopened, once again altering the gravity. What? What? Orla shouted. But we still don't have power. The starting pulse must have been enough to keep it open. Turo said. But without the machine to keep it under control. The portal suddenly began to glitch and grew further in size, eventually starting to suck inside his surroundings, including Turo who tried to hold onto the floor, but the portal ended up taking him in. While the cable that connected his back to the floor extended until it finally tensed. Professor Turo. Orla shouted. Coco. Don't worry, everything's fine. Orla said. Coco. The croc complained. It's okay to lie if I'm scared. Orla shouted again to then see how the metal cable was starting to break. Matang. She released her starter and jumped to his head while he broke. He threw the safety glass as the cable gave in, but Matang held it with both his arms. The portal continued to grow and Matang pulled himself away with his psychic powers to counter the suction until the portal finally began to shrink. It's closing. Matang, pull him out quickly. Orla exclaimed and Matang did a strong pull, taking Turo out of the portal just in time before this closed into an explosion that sent them all flying away. Coco. The croc had that stayed behind ran to an unconscious Orla and headbutted her, getting her to wake up. Ouch. She tried to stand up but was stopped by a piercing pain, making her notice a bleeding cut in her right shoulder. Fuko. He exclaimed worried. I'm fine, don't worry. She said sitting on the floor to then take off her lab coat. And rip off a sleeve of it to then wrap it around her injury. That should do for the moment. She said to then place the rest of the coat over her left shoulder and stand up to look around all the debris. Spotting her now fainted Matang to then return it. Professor Turo. She shouted seeing him in the floor and ran to him, taking off his space helmet to see the man with blank eyes. Turo, are you okay? You're running when it's too late. Turo whispered while looking at the roof still with blank eyes. Won't hear you screaming for help. All these cages and chains won't protect you from yourself. Turo. Orla called him again and the man blinked a few times before his eyes returned to normal. Orla, start the machine again. He said standing up. What? Orla shouted. But. I saw something inside there, but I didn't get a clear view, I need to go again. Turo continued. But Professor, look around, the machine exploded, Then let's start fixing it. He interrupted her. But. I said we're getting back to work. Turo shouted. We could have died. Orla shouted out loud. We could have died, you, me, Matang, Coco, all of us could have died. Professor, this experiment is far too dangerous. I've been helping you because I know it's important to you, but we have to stop this. Orla, it only failed because the power went out. Turo replied. But what? If the portal itself caused the energy failure? Have you considered that? Orla asked. Please, Professor, what would have had happened if we hadn't pulled you out of the portal? You could have been trapped in whatever that was forever. This machine can't be worth the risk. What do you mean it can't be worth the risk? Turo asked. Orla, this is time, the strongest harness in the universe, and we managed to harness it. This could lead to things never before seen by humanity. Having control over time could lead to things like the secret of immortality or something even greater. Professor Turo, we can't keep doing this. No one is meant to compete with time and death. Well, I think we can be the exception, you and I. Turo said, offering a hand to her. Please, I need you, I wouldn't have gotten so far without my right hand after all. Quote, Orla was about to accept and raised her hand, but she was stopped by the pain coming from the cut in her shoulder. Orla stared at it and thought in silence for a moment before taking off her lab coat and hand it over to Turo. I'm sorry. I've learned more than I could have imagined with you and I'm really thankful, but I can't be part of this. Then what can you be part of? Turo asked, taking the bloodstained lab coat. Orla, your amazing mechanic skills and intelligence will be wasted anywhere else. I gave you the opportunity to be more, too. Leave an everlasting print on this world and now you'll turn your back on me. Just like Sada did. You know, you're always comparing me with Sada, saying how I'm better than her in everything. Orla said. And you are. Turo said, and Orla gave him a weak smile before turning around and walking away. Goodbye, Coco, take care. She said, patting the croc's head. Orla, I won't be able of rebuilding it without you. Turo said. That's the point. Orla said without looking back at him. I'm not gonna stay here to see how my friend kills himself. Back in the present. And then I left, returned to the lab and I never saw Professor Turo again. Orla finished her story to Ash and Molly while they were all still in the kitchen and then took off her shirt to show the scar in her right shoulder. Hey, Ash, you ain't looking at the scar. Molly said. Sorry, the orange bra is very distracting. A blushing Ash replied to then look away. So, a time machine. Yeah, and I'm not even sure if it even worked to begin with. Orla replied, putting her shirt back on. But Turo did see something inside that portal, and whatever that was, it changed him. He would have never insisted to put myself in danger like that. At least that's what I think. He was always kind and understanding with me, but it does makes me wonder, did he actually care for me or somewhere else in Paldea? Or was I only using her for my experiments? Turo asked, looking at a bloodstained lab coat nailed on a wall. Why did you even put that thing there? Sada asked, walking to him. I guess it was meant to be a reminder. To not lose my humanity. Turo replied. It's a bit late for that, don't you think? Sada asked with a short laugh. Never mind that, look what I got here. She said, showing a golden key with a purple skull and crossbones as its symbol. The Poison Terra key. Turo said. Yup, looks like a few of these were dropped here in Area 0. She said. Well, another key means another favor from the explorers. Turo said. You'll ask them to capture another experiment. Nah, I think we can leave that to Ash and his fellows for now. Sada said, taking her Rotom phone. There's something else that I'd like to ask our little privateers to do. Back in the Asagi. Come on, Ash, just another smooch. Molly said, hugging him from behind and kissing his cheek while Ash simply blushed and Orla laughed at the scene while Skuldurge was sleeping next to her. Hey, didn't you say we were gonna drink something? Ash asked. Guess I did. Molly giggled to give him another cheek kiss and then left Ash to go to the fridge. Hey, Ash, thank you so much for helping her. Orla said. I've seriously never seen her so happy, you should give her a chance. Orla, of course I'd like to have something with Molly. But I'm in a bit of a tough spot right now. How so? Orla asked. Well, you see, the girls that are traveling with me, they're all in love with you. Molly interrupted. Ted returning to the table with 3 glasses of pink juice. And you're in love with all of them? Yeah, I suppose that's as simple as it gets. Ash replied, and the 3 started to drink. Molly, I told you, I do like you. But I can't just leave the other girls behind. I'm going to ask them if they're willing to be in a shared relationship with me. I'm just waiting for the right moment to bring it up. I know it's a crazy idea, but I'm in. She interrupted again. You are? Both Ash and Orla asked. Sure, I'm not letting you go, and all the girls seemed pretty nice during the funeral. So if this is the only way for it to work, then I'll join with one little condition. And that is? Ash asked. Orla has to join as well. Molly said, causing her friend to almost choke on her juice. Me what? Orla shouted, blushing madly. Come on, be honest, you also like him. Molly said. And Ash is probably the only guy who would date you because of your personality and not your personality. Or at the least he'd date you for both, right? Well, I wouldn't complain about either. Ash said, blushing as well. Listen, Molly, Ash is a really great guy, but I'm not sure if I'd be fine with that kind of relationship. Orla said. Well, that's exactly why we'll be doing a little test. Molly smirked. A test? Orla asked to then look at the glasses. What did you put on these drinks? Nothing you should worry about. Molly said to then sit on Ash's lap, meeting with his face again. How do you feel? A bit hot, he replied, still blushing. Gotcha. Molly said to the end, take him into another kiss, and Ash answered by hugging her by her waist to pull her closer into the kiss, while he also finally started to fight back, with his lips softly biting Molly's. Molly, what did you do? Orla asked, blushing even more, finding herself unable to look away. Just sprinkled something soft, Molly said, separating from the kiss, and Ash started to plant kisses and soft bites in her neck, seemingly in a trance. It should be off in like 3 minutes, so we've got ourselves 3 minutes of playtime. NGH, why don't you show us that scar again? Are you crazy? Orla shouted. Your loss, Molly said before Ash took her into a lip kiss himself, while Molly simply melted into his arms. That's, you shouldn't. Orla kept staring at the scene for around 30 seconds, and she eventually sighed. Fine, but you and I are having a very serious talk after this. She said to then take off her shirt again, showing the orange bra that covered her voluminous breasts. So, Ash, do you, prefer girls with, front or behind? 'Cause, I've heard some people said they could get in the way during eek. Orla suddenly squeaked when Ash did a quick movement to grab her right breast. Orla's squeak was enough to pull Ash out of his trance, and he simply blushed when he noticed what he was doing. Oh Orla, I'm sorry, Ash shouted, pulling back his hand. No, wait, it's fine, I liked it. Orla exclaimed. You did? Ash asked. Why yeah, you can do it again. If you want to, I mean. Orla added, crossing her arms behind her back while she blushed even more. Just be gentle, they're quite sensitive. Well, come on, she's pretty much begging you to do it. Molly said, kissing his cheek again, while Orla simply stared at Ash with a pleading look to then smile and move her shoulders back and forth, causing her breasts to jiggle, which only made him blush even more. Ash then took a deep breath before grabbing her right breast with his left hand, making Orla let out a small squeak, a sound which Ash was starting to enjoy, so he squeezed her breast slightly and made her do it again, while Orla started to drool, lost in the sensation. Someone's not so shy anymore, Molly said to then take Ash into another kiss, and he slowly moved the hand he had around Molly's waist to her ass, grabbing it softly and causing the joy to moan between the kiss. Hey, so you're a both as good type of guy, huh? Good to know. Hey, I want some attention too, Orla said to then get closer to the two, grabbing Ash's wrist with her hand to make sure he'd keep groping her, to then plant a warm kiss on Ash's lips, with Molly smiling at the two, and once Orla finished, the two girls swarmed Ash with kisses all over his face, neck, and of course, his lips, while he still kept a hand groping each girl. I really love you, Orla whispered, grabbing Ash's face to then give him quite a deep lip kiss, leaving them both panting after they separated and pressing their foreheads together, while Molly simply smirked and got off Ash's lap to give them some space, but he still didn't let go off her ass. And I'm glad Molly likes you too, something about this just feels right. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but if she's really okay with this, then I wanna be your girlfriend too, she said to give Ash another lip kiss, hugging him by his neck, while Ash finally decided to move her hand under Orla's breast and get a full grip of her breast. Why you naughty boy, I knew it, Iono shouted, bursting into the scene along with Nemona, Penny and Mayla. Why you get off him, Penny demanded, while all the girls were blushing, seeing in the position they were in. This isn't what it looks like, Orla shouted, getting away from Ash and fixing her bra. It looks like you two were about to make too much noise, Nemona shouted. Okay, maybe it is what it looks like, Orla said, Pooty. ing her shirt back on and take Ash's other hand off Molly's ass. Hey, I was digging that, Molly complained. So that's why you asked us to spend the night here. Mela said. You only wanted to get Ash. The bigger the boobs, the eviler the woman, Iono said. Ash Ketchum, I'm so disappointed in you. If what you wanted was boobs, then Nemo is right there. I mean, they're not that big. Nemona replied, blushing embarrassed. And Penny's got a nice ass too. Iono continued. You just don't notice it because of her backpack. Take a look at it now. Could you stop saying things like that so casually? Penny shouted with a massive blush. Well, Ash, what's your excuse? Nemona asked. Sorry, I got a bit dizzy and lost track of what I was doing. Ash replied, just as embarrassed. But well, I did came to my senses later. But, I guess I wanted to keep going. I'd like to do that stuff with y'all, you know. The four girls shouted, blushing at their limit. No, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Ash shouted, blushing even more. Why you mean, lewd stuff with us? Iono asked. Like right now. If, you must, well, have a lot of stamina considering all the things we've seen you do. Nemona said. Well, it's not like we don't want to do that too, but it feels a bit early and, Mela simply looked away. Wait a sec, dizzy. Penny asked to then look at the glasses in the table. You drugged him. What? Nemona, Iono and Mela shouted. It is legally classified as medicine. Molly said. And this was literally an assault. Mela shouted. Well, it's okay if a cute girl with boobs does it. Molly said. You were the one who started. Orla shouted. 'Cause you didn't enjoy it, right? Molly asked. And you all, relax. It was just something soft to take out his inhibitions, it's not gonna harm him in any way and he didn't do anything that he didn't want to do deep inside. Molly explained. That's what everyone says. Mela shouted again. If Ash is gonna lick someone, that's gonna be me. Iono shouted. Well, at least we had the guts to do something with him. Molly said. Unlike you all who have been raveling with him for months and haven't done anything about your feelings. Even if that was true, which is not, you have no right to do this. Nemona shouted. And what makes you think you have the right? Orla asked. It's not like Ash belongs to you. And he doesn't belong to you either. Mela shouted. The discussion kept going and Ash simply stood aside watching the girls rant while Pikachu jumped to his shoulder and Skulldurge was still sleeping on the floor. Ash simply thought in silence for a moment before walking out of the scene without the girls noticing since they were all too busy screaming at each other. Why do this kind of things keep happening to me? Ash asked, walking the halls of the Asagi. And why am I running away? Shouldn't I stay with them and try to keep peace or something? Who am I kidding? I'm not ready for this. Ready for what? Freed? He asked, seeing the young man accompanied by his Alolan Raichu. Hi there, you couldn't sleep either. Guess you can say that. But late nights are fine by me. He replied. Now, don't change topic, what were you talking about? Nothing, just a little argument with my traveling companions. Ash said. Hey, I can imagine what type of argument that was. I mean, they surely look like more than traveling companions to me. Freed said. You're truly a lucky fella, aren't you? I guess. Ash said. Hey, I didn't want to say it earlier, but, that hat your Raichu is wearing, it's Drake's hat, isn't it? It sure is. Freed said with a weak smile. Drake gave it to me but I don't really like to wear it. I don't feel like I deserve it. Hey, how about I show you something? Ash and Freed were now in front of a giant golden vault and Raichu floated in front of a scanner. It was next to the vault and this scanned the Pokeball symbol on Drake's hat to then open the vault, which led to an empty room with nothing but a treasure chest covered by a black coat. Drake's coat. Ash said, and Freed carefully took it off the chest, with Ash noticing that the coat seemed to have been sewn in the back. Freed then placed the coat over his shoulder and opened the treasure Saint to show the 6 Terra keys in possession of the tacklers. Flying, Rock, Normal, Water, Ghost and Steel. Ash and him looked at the keys for a moment before Freed sighed and took the flying one on his hand. Like I told you, Drake was my mentor and the original captain of the brave Asagi. He said to Ash while looking at the flying key, which symbol were 2 angel-like wings. I'll never forget him, that moment I met him. It changed my life forever. Somewhere in Paldea, 5 years ago. Back in the day, hey, I was nothing but a thief, simply stealing whatever quipped my interest. One day I bursted into an storage owned by Team Rocket, not too far from here actually. Draco Meteor. A young Freed shouted and his Garchomp attacked and knocked out 2 Rocket grunts and their Zubat. Hey, simple as that. He said, fist bumping with his Pikachu on his shoulder to then approach what seemed to be a treasure chest. His Pikachu used Iron Tail to break the lock it had and Freed then opened it. The chest was filled with golden nuggets, but in the middle of them seemed to be golden key with 2 white wings printed on it. The heck is this thing? Freed asked, picking up the key. HMMP, so what Agatha said was true. A voice talked behind Freed and he turned around to see Drake accompanied by his Salamence, looking at him from the entrance of the storage. Would you be kind enough to give that key to me, lad? Huh, you don't look like a member of Team Rocket. Freed said. Who are you supposed to be? Name's Drake Radaka, I'm a member of the Hoenn Elite Four. He replied. But I'm branded as a pirate by the moment. Well, a fellow professional, it seems. Freed said, looking at the key again. Is this thingy yours then? Not exactly. Drake replied. But I'm afraid I need it, it's really important. I see. Freed replied to then grin. Then I better not give it to you. Dragon Claw. He shouted and his Garchomp's wings were surrounded in purple light as he flew towards Drake. Drake stood still and pressed a stone in his belt and his Salamence was surrounded in light to then Mega Evolve in a burst of light and use Dragon Rush to knock down Freda's Garchomp in a single hit. What in the... Would you like to continue? Drake asked and his Mega Salamence roared while Pikachu hid behind Freda's legs. Tisk, fine. Freed said to then return. And his Garchomp and slowly walked to Drake until they were only a few steps away to then hand over the key. Here, you can have it. Quote. Why did you even try to fight for it? Drake asked, taking the key. I honestly doubt you even know what this thing is. Well, you came to this place looking for it, didn't you? Freed asked. I imagine it must be worth some good money then. Perhaps, but I'm Liu King for something more than its material worth. Drake replied. This is the key to something big, a treasure that's way bigger than both of us. Really? And what is that? Freed asked. Hey, that's not the important thing. Drake replied as he turned around and began to walk away with his Mega Salamence following him. The important thing is that if you only care about money, if you give up on everything as easy as you gave up on this key, then you'll never find it. You'll never understand what a real treasure means. He said to then stop walking and look to Freed over his shoulder. But that decision is only yours to make. My decision, huh? Freed asked as Drake continued to leave. Quote. Hey, old man, wait. He exclaimed to then follow him and Drake smirked to himself. Back to the present. He told me everything about the keys and the greatest treasure in Paldea and I followed him on his journey. Freed continued. We traveled Paldea and the world looking for them, he taught me so many things. He showed me the importance of having a crew, a family, that there were other treasures aside from money, and when the time came he named me the new captain of the Asagi. But, I met with Drake some months ago. Ash said. How did he die? Well, that's... Freed stood silent for a moment, but he was pulled from his thoughts by a red alarm that came from the roof. Oh no, what's that? Ash asked. Nothing good. Freed said to then place the key back on the chest and close it, leaving Drake's coat on top of it as well. Everyone to the living room. He UTED to his Rotom phone while closing the vault and guided Ash through the Asagi until they made it to the living room, where the rest of the tacklers and the girls were waiting for them. There you are. Mela shouted to Ash. Could you stop running away while we're having this kind of conversations? I'm sorry, okay. Ash replied. Can we discuss this later? Orla, what happened? Freed asked. Well, Molly, Ash and I were. He's talking about the alarm. Molly whispered. Oh, right. Orla said, picking up her Rotom tablet. It was the proximity alarm that we installed after Molly joined us, something's coming. But don't worry, the Asagi is fully locked from inside, there's no way they'll get in. Orla's statement was followed by a loud thunder and a purple portal appeared in front of the group. With Amethio and his Cerulege coming out of it. Amethio. Mela whispered. Quite the warm welcoming. Amethio said and from the portal later came Konya, Zir and a young Woe. Man of fair skin with short purple hair wearing a red jacket and high-tech glasses. Who's the new girl? Molly asked. Mitch. Freed asked. Don't try anything, explorers. Murdoch shouted. We got you outnumbered 11-4. Guess that's true. Ricardo. Amethio shouted and his cerulege made various quick cuts in the air that created several portals around Ash's group and the tacklers, sucking them inside in different directions. That should do. Now, remember what Jean told us, try not to have too much fun. The purple-haired said. Don't promise anything. Zir said, cracking his knuck. Les and Ricardo summoned 5 more portals, one for each explorer. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Hey, Mela, you okay? Murdoch asked. No. She replied, standing up after the fall. But thanks for asking. Man, that really took us off guard. Murdoch said. We've had some battles with the explorers, but this is the first time they attack us directly in the Asagi. Why doing that all of a sudden? There's only one way to find out. Mela said. Let's get moving to stop them. As long as Amethio is here, I won't be fine. You know the kid from somewhere, don't you? He asked. Amethio used to be my boyfriend. She admitted. But we broke up some time ago. I see, and now you're blaming yourself for the damage he's causing. I guess. Mela nodded. Well, let me tell you something. Blaming yourself for things that other people do is no good, I should know about that. Murdoch said to then sigh. In the end you can't do more for a person than what that person is willing to do for himself. Mr. Murdoch. Mela stared at him for a moment. Molly mentioned you had some story. Is someone who was very close to go, can I ask why were you in jail? Well, how about I tell you myself, kid? Zir asked, appearing from a portal along his roaring Raiden. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Perfect. This day just can't get any better. Iono complained, walking in circles while Ludlow was meditating in the floor along Ash's Pikachu. Next thing you'll tell me is that girl Konya, who's also busty as hell, likes Ash too. Arg. Why does everyone? Pete Penny. Nemo and I are his traveling companions. We're the ones who know Ash the most. We should have gotten his first 3 kisses. Not Dendra, Molly and Orla. This all so unfair. Maybe it's my fault. Penny and Nemo do deserve to kiss Ash. But after what I did, okay, let's try to focus in not dying for now. What should we do, Mr. Drampa? We wait. Ludlow said. Wait for what? Iono asked. We wait. He insisted. But, we wait. He said again, and Iono made a small silent tantrum before sitting next to him on the floor with her arms crossed. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Is anybody out there? Penny stuttered. Yeah, it's me, Dot. She replied with her gimmigole in her shoulder. Sorry, I lost my glasses and I can't see anything without them, can you help me find them? Sure thing, Jim. Dot said, and the gimmigole jumped off her shoulder to start looking for Penny's glasses. So, Dot. Penny said. Yeah, it's short for Jim. Gimmigole exclaimed with Penny's glasses in hand, and Dot grabbed them to then give them to Penny so she could put them on herself. Thanks. Penny said. So you're Murdoch's niece, correct? Unfortunately. Dot nodded. Well, I wanted to talk with you actually. Your uncle mentioned us that you never want to leave your room, why is that? He's always saying that to everyone as if he was the victim. Dot replied. It's all his fault to begin with. How so? Penny asked. That doesn't matter. Dot replied, looking away. Well, as a former lonely loner and fellow techmaster, I think you should talk things out with him. Penny said. I've tried. Okay. Dot said. But he'll never listen to me, he just doesn't understand. Do you have any idea of how it feels to know that the one person who can help you with a problem won't do anything about it? Of course I do. Penny sighed. And that's exactly why I think you should insist before things get too big to handle. Let's just meet with the rest so we can stop the explorers. Dot said. I'm sorry, nerds, I'm afraid I can't let you do that. Amethio said, appearing from a portal along Ricardo. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Well, that was a pretty rough fall. Molly said, standing up to then look at Nemona. You okay? Why yeah, I just fell on top of my brace. Nemona said, holding her right forearm while she stood up as well. Hey, is that a medical brace? Molly asked. And no. It just helps me tossing poke balls, why do you ask? Nemona asked, slightly nervous. Well, you're on pajamas now, why are you still wearing it? Molly continued. Oh, that, well, you see. It's very comfy and you never know if Ash will wake up in the middle of the night with a battle mood, it has happened few times actually. Sure. Molly ate, seeing how Nemona's right hand seemed to be twitching, but her thoughts were interrupted by a purple portal that appeared in front of them, with Konia coming out of it along her Golduck. Well, look here, if it isn't Molly. Konia said. What happened with you back in the cave? Don't tell me I scared you. Nope, you didn't, but Orla surely scared you with that wrench, didn't she? Molly asked. Grr, hydro pump. Konia shouted and her Golduck shot the move from his mouth. Arbaliva. Nemona exclaimed, releasing the tree, who took the attack and activated her seed sower ability, turning the area into a grassy terrain. Leave this to me, Molly. Nemona said to then return Arbaliva and release her Quaxwell. Sarah duello a muert con pedos. Duello a muert con pedos. Konia asked. Yeah, I haven't been in Paldea for that long. My Spanish is a bit rusty. Molly said. Pongamanos quacklocados. Nemona exclaimed to then pull out her Terra Orb with her braced hand and activate it, but while it was gathering energy, Nemona let out a grunt of pain and had to use her other arm to support it. See, come on, just do it, she said to herself before taking the orb with her other hand and toss it to Quaxwell, changing him to a grass type. Huff, here we go, Nemona said, holding her right forearm again. What in the? Molly wondered while she saw Nemona's brace was seemingly sparking and her hand was twitching again. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Orla, you okay? Ash asked her. Yes, I'm fine, she replied while Ash helped her stand up. Where are we? Ash asked, looking around, seeing they were in a room filled with giant gears and coal burners. This is the machine room, or the heart of the Asagi, as we'll call it. Orla said. You need a lot to keep this big guy in the air. And what would happen if we give it a heart attack, Doctor? A voice asked from a platform above them, and Ash and Orla saw a young man with fair skin, red eyes and long green hair, wearing an elegant gray jacket, high boots, and a black sweater and pants. Spinel, Orla asked. So you do remember me. I'm flattered, Spinel said. Friend of yours? Ash asked. Not quite. Back when Professor Turo was looking for an assistant. He gave tests to many scientists, Spinel Warzel here and I were the two finalists and I've already heard that story. Spinel interrupted. Don't really like how it ends. Spinel, you're with the explorers, right? Orla asked. What? No, he shouted. Who do you take me for? That is such an offensive assumption. No, actually, yeah, I am. Toxic. He exclaimed to then release a Behemoth, who shot 6 streams of poison from the spots in his hands. Metagross. Orla called upon her ace, who blocked the attack with his typing. Shadow Ball. Spinel continued and Behemoth joined his hands to then toss the ghost orb. Sawbuck. Ash released the deer, who also blocked the move with his type. Oh, so you're the type of trainers, that's just great, Spinel said. Psyshock. Locax. Behemoth shot a Y-shaped pink beam from his forehead, but Ash released the grasshopper and blocked the attack as well. Stop with the god damn immunities, Spinel shouted, stomping the floor. Professor Turo always said you were a bit unstable, Orla said. Shut up, Spinel shouted again. Somewhere else in the Asagi. Fried shouted as he fell from a portal on the roof and landed roughly onto the floor while his Raichu and Garchomp descended floating. Otro aterrizaje perfecto, Fried said to then stand up with difficulty and turn around to see the purple-haired girl with both hands on the helm of the Asagi with a Salamence by her side. Out of all the places in the Asagi, you had to pick the bridge? Fried asked. Well, this is where it all started for us, she replied. And where it ended too. No, I'd say it truly ended on that warehouse, Fried replied, and the girl seemed to tense for a moment before she let go off the helm to look at Fried directly. We both know this story is too far from over, she said. Seems like it, Fried replied. I'd like to say I'm surprised you joined the explorers, but we both know that would be a lie, Mitch. Don't call me that, she shouted. Fine then, Michelle D. Amaras. Fried said, and the girl took off her tech glasses to show her purple eyes. The second best dragon trainer. In all of Hoenn after the Mandrake Radaka himself, he was the only one who could call you Mitch. And he was the only one who could call you Fred. Michelle replied. I always thought he just couldn't remember our full names. Fried let out a short laugh. But you never told us what the D stood for, like, it can't be for dragon, right? I see you're still a clown. Michelle said. I'm giving you the chance to talk this out. Fried said. If you had given me the chance to talk when I asked for it. Michelle took a pause as she clenched her fists. Drake wouldn't have died. I know. Fried answered. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all are enjoyed this video. If you do, please leave a like, share and subscribe. Also don't forget to support author of this fanfic. So let's end this video here. Until then, see you in next video.